Good afternoon, happy 4th of July, good evening, good morning, whatever it is where you're at. Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. It's Saturday, and it's the 4th of July, as I just said. We're hanging out here with Script Doctor and Andre. How you guys doing?
I'm swell, thank you. And allow me to say, on behalf of the International Society, happy 4th of July to all of my American friends.
Well, thank you very much. And Script Doctor, that's funny, I got two foreigners on the show today.
Yep, foreign nationals, here we go. So happy 4th of July, my American siblings to the south. I hope you're having a great weekend.
Sort of. And we also have another guest joining us, looks like via satellite. How you doing, Keith, from Popcast Minefield? Is that not the name of it?
Yeah, Pop Culture Minefield.
Pop Culture, sorry.
That's all right.
Welcome to the show. I see we caught you at the perfect time. Car, video, and everything.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of doing some moving, but it is a complete honor to be on here with you guys. I watched quite a few of your shows and videos. You guys have literally taught me how to do what I'm doing right now on Pop Culture Minefield. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor to have you join us. So, yeah. Even if it's from the car. So how's 4th of July going for you so far?
You know what? I haven't started my celebrations yet, but I've heard quite a few people around town have already started. This is just a big time for people that I know. I've got friends, I've got in-laws that sell fireworks. And so, it's all about the boom. It is literally all about the boom. So this is great. It's great. This has been a rather unusual off year for everyone. So this is giving everyone a chance to just get out there, celebrate a little bit before we have to go back inside and do some more of that quarantine thing.
Yeah, there is that. There's quarantine to those of you that still have to suffer through that. We're mostly done with that here, to the extent of which we ever really had one. But yeah, got to follow the recommendations, I guess. Do you still have rockets there, by the way? Can you fire like rockets yourself?
You can buy things that sell as rockets, but officially, I can definitely say no.
All right, I see. No, because like back in Norway, this is like one of my favorite memories from New Year's Eve. Traditionally, was firing the rockets, sending them up into the sky, seeing them explode, and lighting the fuse, and it was amazing. And then they banned it like 10 years ago or something. So now we only have like the ground batteries. It really isn't the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're at here. Like some places you can get away with bottle rockets and stuff, but like obviously you can't do anything in some places that have a lot of loud noises or anything like that, or shoot up in the sky anymore and stuff.
Yeah. So like the city, they will launch proper rockets, but you're not allowed to the pleasure of launching rockets yourself, which I really miss. But hey, I'm a rocket fanatic, so
yeah, it's kind of the same here. But if you live in the country, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, yay for the countryside and individual freedoms.
Yes.
See, I dropped you guys' link there in the chat, so if you guys want to check out some great entertainment news, and you guys also do like you talk about stuff like reviews and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah, we just try to be like two guys that you want to hang out with and just talk geek nerd stuff, news, and various other things. And we occasionally will have interviews with people in the industry. So, it's just hanging out. That's what we really try to do.
That's awesome. That's a great start. That's kind of like how Midnight's Edge started as well back in the day. And it kind of expanded a little bit from there. But that was a gradual process. To begin with, it was me and my friend hanging out with transatlantic discussions, since we couldn't be further apart, basically, with him being in Seattle and me being in Oslo, Norway. So it wasn't just like the Atlantic between us, but Atlantic plus most of the continental US.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But Tom, let's get on to business. What are we talking about today?
Well, it's Saturday, so we never really have too many set topics, but there's enough crap to go on this week that we have plenty to talk about between Star Wars, Batman, BreeTube. Take your pick.
Well, Keith, you're the guest. Where do we begin?
You know what? I would really like to begin with just all of this stuff that's been coming out about Joss Whedon, because I am so far out of the loop when it comes to all of this Hollywood stuff. As a fan of Buffy and a lot of his other programs, I've been really surprised by some of the things that have been revealed. And with Ray Fisher coming out and saying what he had to say, I'm floored. And yet at the same time, not really that surprised. So,
yeah. Script Doctor, your thoughts on Ray Fisher's tweet. What do you think is behind it? Is there a reason it comes right now?
Part of me thinks that it's just Ray Fisher not really understanding how on-set behavior works, because it's really vague, and it seems to suggest that he's talking about himself receiving abuse and bad behavior from Joss Whedon. But part of me thinks it also has to do with Joss Whedon just conducting himself a little tyrannically on set, trying to emulate James Cameron in some way. We do know, we have confirmed from Gal Gadot and her stunt double that the scene with the Flash pretty much landing his face between Wonder Woman's breasts was forced by Joss Whedon to get done. Both parties, including, my understanding is also including Ezra Miller, did not want to do it, but he demanded it. And maybe Ray Fisher is speaking to that. However, I did hear years ago a story where Ray Fisher got upset and indignant because he didn't want to say a particular line. And just recently, John Berg revealed that line was "Booyah," the catchphrase to Cyborg that was used in the comics and cartoon shows and is kind of like a staple to the character. And I don't even understand why that would be a line difficult for an actor to say. I don't know if there's any negative connotation to it, so that felt kind of weird. And also a thing to note is that Ray Fisher is still a very green actor. He has not done a lot of things, like at all. Like Justice League was pretty much the first big movie he did. I think he did a short film and maybe a television guest appearance before that. So when you get into a big studio film, you're on deadlines. You have to perform. You have to meet the standards that are set by the production. And if you falter, you get yelled at because you're not meeting the requirements of your job. And if he can't handle that, that's his problem. It's not technically abuse. As far as I know, I haven't heard any stories where Joss Whedon is stapling people's cell phones to a corkboard because they brought them on set, as James Cameron has been known to do. I've only heard just a couple of demanding aspects that a director needs, but I prefer a detail before we really cast judgment, even though I have my own personal issues with Joss Whedon. I don't want to skip the concept of due process. Like, tell me something that he found abusive, and I'll support, and I'll take a look at it, I'll listen, and if it can be verified, I'll support, authorities getting involved. And if it can't be verified, then we have other conversations to have about why a person would say such a thing.
I agree. This is really serious here, and I think ultimately, given how far Joss has gotten since the end of Buffy and everything else, I mean, his career over the last 5 to 6 years has just gone like gangbusters. And for this allegation to pop up outside of what his wife or ex-wife said, yeah.
Well, there's a couple different sides to this. You have, first of all, the fact that Joss was coming in to do a job that was a demand of the studio. He even asked for more time and was told no, because they had to have it done by a certain date so they could get their bonuses. The other side of it is, like Script is saying, young actor, never dealt with a director like that probably before, and especially somebody like Joss is used to getting his way. Same thing with like somebody like Cameron. I can see Cameron stapling someone's cell phone to the attack board and going, yeah, what the fuck are you going to do about it? You know, it's like, what, they're not going to fire me, you know? So, yeah. So, I mean, and Joss probably has the same kind of thing. And again, you know, there's a history of directors who have been known to be very difficult to work with or work for, like everyone from Alfred Hitchcock to Kubrick to Friedkin to even
Herzog. Let's not forget about that. I mean, there's like this famous story where Klaus Kinski was being extraordinarily difficult. So Herzog took a loaded gun out and said, "If you don't do what I say right now, I'm gonna fucking shoot you and then shoot myself." So yeah.
There's a laundry history.
Much to complain about.
There's a laundry history of directors that could be probably 10 times worse to deal with. But then on the other side, if Gal is actually confirming that story, part of it says, okay, I can see where she's coming from. But on the other side of it, it's not like he's asking her to do a fucking nude thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like he's saying, you know, you got to do it or else. You know, it's like you're paid to be an actor. It's obviously there for a joke. Both parties, I get, they felt uncomfortable doing it or whatever, but you're also actors, you know. What are you going to do if you're asked to do a love scene? You know what I mean? Like, you got to take these things into consideration, and I think that's a little prima donna bullshit on the actor's part. But again, and then that brings me to the next part. If he really was so bad, then why haven't we heard more and more from the set about him? Well, that was the case until today. Like Script said, there was some people that were coming out and saying something. Luffy says that that there was a report that he fired 4 black actors right off the bat because there was a problem with them.
I know a little bit about this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as I know, they weren't fired because they were black. But basically, Zack Snyder had a very, very inclusive movie, but it was a very long movie. Whereas Joss Whedon, he was told to make the movie much, much shorter. And in making it shorter, some characters had to go, and he decided, I'm going to focus on the core characters of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Those are who I'm going to focus on. And since I'm going to focus on them, all of these other subplots that Zack Snyder had going, they're just going to go. And those subplots still just so happened to have black actors. And that's why they had to go. So it's not that he saw that, oh, those are black people, I don't want any black people in the movie. No. That was a matter of due to screen time considerations. And we're focusing on these people that are already cast. Those extras or those extra characters are going to have to go. And that they just so happen to be black. That's tough luck, but that's how it is.
That was inconsequential. Yeah. He cut those roles significantly down, and as a result, actors were let go of their contracts. Just it happens.
Well, in response to this, of course, it was just like any other day. Kevin Smith has to chime in some way, but he actually does have something to kind of say about this because he was tangentially around the whole situation. He said, "I remember when I went to the Skywalker set, and some people had worked on both Solo and Justice League. The special effects guy said there was a fair amount of trash talking of Zack's version of the movie on set by Joss. Again, this is what a special effects guy who worked on both versions of the movie told me." So he's being clear that this is secondhand information, right? But that Whedon would cut down, dismiss, and be negative about Zack's version, which he had seen and all the people had made together without him and stuff. Now, this isn't really verifying any wrongdoing on Joss's part. I mean, he's just talking smack about the previous guy. Is it good tact? No. But is this an abusive act? No. What this does is just basically kind of take away me being able to say that Joss Whedon really wasn't to blame for anything as far as that goes, because he's obviously trash talking Zack on that part, so he doesn't deserve that. But outside of that, this still doesn't say that anything as far as like being abusive.
Well, I can see a lot of that. It's just, it doesn't look good, especially in light of everything that had happened, recently on that set. you have a lot of people, a lot of the actors, especially, that are dealing with the aftermath of the death of Zach's daughter. So everybody was pretty in tune with that. And then having to come back after a movie had basically been shot under orders to work with a new director who has a new way of doing this film that you've already previously made. It's just a lot of just hard stuff behind the scenes. I would eventually love to see somebody write a book or make a documentary. It's going to be one heck of a documentary about all of this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our own Midnight's Edge documentary on it until someone else does a proper thing for Netflix or something. But till then, to me, it sounds like they're basically on the mark here. Also, Keith, when you're not talking, do you think you could mute the your mobile because, or the sound because we are?
I've been doing it on my end
because we're getting some serious feedback.
And I'd hate to be muting you myself, so.
Actually,
so if
you know
can
what?
Use your microphone, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll have to dig one out. Charger? Yeah. So let me try.
I'm safe. Now we can always have you back another time. We didn't know it was a bad time.
Yeah, you know what? I would love to come back another time.
Oh,
I don't want to
absolutely.
be disruptive to what you guys are doing. And look, you guys are on a really good track with this. There's a lot to discuss. And let me just say, I, for one, am looking forward to what else you guys talk about in this particular episode. So thank you for the invite. And good luck, guys.
No problem. Just let us know when you're settled, and we'll definitely have you back here for sure.
Yeah, awesome. We'll keep sending you invites. Maybe we'll have better timing next time. Anyway, have a great 4th of July. Enjoy your day and have a great celebration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy 4th to everyone.
Take care, Keith. It's nice getting to talk to you. All right, so check out those guys on Pulp Culture Minefield. Apologize for the sound there, guys. He's in the middle of moving. But we didn't get a chance to say everybody hi to people in the chat. We got Aluvri and Makira, if I'm saying that right. Blind Fury X, XX, Slithering Peanut, who we always see in the chat. How you doing? Fragoff, another regular. Ed Brewer, Emotionally Unstable Amphibian. I like that name. Zebrin and Zachrot. Matt G sent us a super sticker. He, of course, always hanging out in the chat. Thank you so much. Zachrot, I said that already. Read by Nature. He's another normal in the chat. We got Max Mercer, Gay Rascal. All you guys, thank you so much for showing up on this 4th of July. Larry, Alpha J, Luffy is God, who brought up the business about the firing. So, I didn't hear about that till this is the first I heard about that, Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but basically that's what's behind it. And to me, what this all sounds like, and I could be wrong, there could be more, but to me, it doesn't sound like really Joss Whedon has done anything unbecoming here. I think it's just been a really, really horrible situation for all involved, and Joss Whedon maybe wasn't tactful, let's say, but I don't think that he has done anything that's going to go down in the history of abusive directors.
Oh, hell no.
Sound like it to me.
Casperius has nothing to say, just sends $2 with quotation dots or whatever. Yeah.
There's also one more aspect to take a look at with regards to this accusation by Ray Fisher, and that is, what is Ray Fisher doing? And the last thing he did was season 3 of True Detective, and he was rather forgettable in that, because I can't remember much of season 3 of True Detective. If whoever enjoyed it, great for you. Wasn't my thing. But the only other project on the docket for him as an actor is the release of Snyder Cut. So he's not getting work. So he's clearly doing this with possibly an ulterior motive of getting some attention, so that once the Snyder Cut is released and he gets a bit more of screen time in that version, he'll be able to say, hey, look at me. I said these things last year. I'm, within the zeitgeist of what current Hollywood is. Hire me for the next project, because he's not being hired right now.
I hate to say it, but I kind of agree with you. I mean, of course, I have nothing to prove this fact or anything. It's not a fact. It's just my feelings on it. I think you're right. I think he's sadly using this situation. If it was any other director who probably didn't have the track record that they did for the situation that Joss is in, people would probably raise more eyebrows and ask more questions. But since it's Joss Whedon, everybody's just quick to go, yep, I believe it. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not no big fan of Joss's. I never got into the TV show Buffy. I have Serenity and Firefly, but I've never watched them. I enjoyed the first Avengers all right. Ultron was okay, but honestly, I didn't think he did anything there that somebody else couldn't have done. So I don't feel like he's some wonderkind or any great director of any kind, but I also don't think he's a horrible director. He's a serviceable director. He can put a movie together for the most part. As far as his personal life, look, I've gotten to this point where I feel like everybody's personal life is getting in the way of what they're doing publicly for work way too much. Unless you're diddling kids or, you know, obviously giving away too much dolphin love, then there's nothing in the world that should be anybody else's fucking business but your own.
I will say one thing about that, because Joss Whedon, he walked right into that one.
There is
himself.
that aspect, yes.
Because here's the thing: I agree that someone's personal life, that's really their own personal life. And okay, so he's unfaithful. You know what? It happens. It's not the end of the world. It's not moral, but it's not illegal. He didn't break any laws. In most companies and stuff like that, that's not a fireable offense. And if any other director had done it, we wouldn't be talking about it. It would be a non-issue. It'd be like, whoa, huge, rich Hollywood director, unfaithful. Oh gosh, what's happened to the world? Like, no one would care.
Right,
So
and I was going to get to that. I was going to
course.
say he
in
came out
his
against
case,
everybody. Yeah,
exactly. In his case, he's been a holier than thou male feminist, and a very outspoken one at that. And that, of course, that means that basically you promote a part of yourself. And when that part of yourself you promote then suddenly goes diametrically against something that's exposed about you, then suddenly you lose
credibility.
Thank you. That's what I was looking
for.
Oh
yeah, and it was the same problem that Obi-Wan, what's his name, Ewan McGregor had too. And that's the point I was going to get to, is you have that's the biggest problem you have here is his hypocrisy. And Alpha J, dolphin love is the word I use for the hard R word that we don't like to say out loud because it likes to set algorithms off and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you get my drift there. Love that was unasked for. How's that? Dolphins are known to do that a lot. So and news on Candy. Yeah, I just heard recently from Jeremy that she did have a baby. There is some complications, but hopefully things will be back to normal before too long, and both mom and baby will be doing well soon. But our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to Candy and her family, and hopefully everything goes well and we hear something from her soon. Because, yeah, it's been a rocky last couple of weeks for her. So that's the most I know, though. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So in tangential news, I like to use that word today. I sound like Amy Pascal.
We've been doing too much Amy Pascal coverage.
No. Batman. How many Batmans are we going to have here? We're going to have Batmans coming out of our ears, folks.
Well, 3 and counting, if all goes well. So let's be clear, though. Officially, there is still just the 1. But it's looking very good that it might be 3.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get onto that, we've got $100 Danish krona, I believe that is, super chat, or 100 Danish krona, not dollar. 100 Danish krona super chat from Lars Hansen. Thank you so much. Can we hope? Yeah, what he said. Can we hope that the movie studios has lost so much money due to COVID-19 and closed cinemas that they have to drop their woke agenda to make money? And happy 4th to the people in the U.S. Well, thank you. That's a very, very good question. We might expand a little bit on this subject a little later in the show because we were talking about it actually just before the show. As far as this is a very loaded question here, Andre, why don't you take it first? Because this is a complicated one, and then I guess Script and I can probably bounce off that. It'd be an easier way of doing it.
I think that's going to depend on each studio and exactly how woke they are. Because here's the thing, that this wokeness, it's an ideology bordering on religion. And it's going to be very, very easy for the shareholders to say that, you know what, we want to be profitable again, so we're going to go away from that. But then you have the people making the decisions, and in many cases you have the people paying the bills that may have another motive I'm not going to go into right away, so that they may be the ones demanding wokeness. And we see, like, for instance, just now with the Pirates of the Caribbean thing, that they're moving forward with that, with the exact same people that kind of failed with Birds of Prey, which just shows that some lessons are hard to learn. But I do think that we are headed on the right track overall, but we're not there yet. And we're also not going to be there after COVID-19. On the contrary, I think that the current situation in the US is going to set us back immensely. It's going to set us back to 2016 in some ways, only worse. Because now all the studios that live in that limited space, they're completely in the Twitter sphere. They're going to think this is reality. This is what everyone wants. And they're going to need some more reality checks before it goes through, is what I think. So I think that it was a good track. We're still on it, but we've been set back a little bit. And
I agree for the most
more
part.
bumps.
Yeah. I agree for the most part. I think we were on the fast track actually until this pandemic happened, and then even more so.
Oh yeah, they had 3 strikes.
yeah, even more so. I think what really was more or less a gift to the SJW crowd was the whole BLM thing, and whether they orchestrated most of that or not, or it was the media's fault, that's up for debate, and we're not going to get into right now. But my point on that is the moment that shit happened, it set everything back. Like Andre said, like it's like we reset now to 2015. I have a feeling things are going to get worse before they get better again now. Like everything that was like on the roster to be non-woke and fixed is probably going to get completely reworked to be even more woke and more, in their eyes, quote, fixed. And then on top of that, anything that had Bad Boys 4 is probably up in the air. Beverly Hills Cop 4 is probably up in the air. Anything that had a cop in it is probably up in the air. I'm sure you guys could help me think of a few other examples of movies that are probably up in the air now because of this kind of shit.
Superhero movies.
Superhero movies, thank you. Yeah.
Now some people have decided that
they're cops with capes, to quote Gary.
Yeah, exactly, and they're white, and that's problematic.
That too, yeah. So I mean, you've got a situation here that's going to really. I mean, we've got lucky that what we can hope for is things like Bill and Ted aren't woke, and it plays well. Ghostbusters isn't woke, and it plays well. A couple of the other movies that were set to come out this year aren't too bad, and they play well. Because if that's the case, then
like
we're good
Wonder
to go.
Woman 84. Yeah.
Maybe I have no hope for Wonder Woman.
I have my doubts for that, but
yeah, because of all the shit we've heard. Yeah,
I have my doubts. I would say so. Ghostbusters would probably be the only real tentpole franchise that might not be woke, because Bill and Ted has got like decades between its films, so it's got a good cult following, but it'd be considered like a smaller movie, like medium to high tier, as opposed to like a tentpole thing. But if that does really well, compared to any of the other tentpole films, like in an aggregate of like how much budget was spent and then advertising versus how much profit came in, that's going to be a good sign to give to Hollywood that they're going in a right direction with that type of approach. Because it looks like Bill and Ted's going to be traditional to the Bill and Ted type of films. It's not going to really have modern day propaganda disguised as agenda or whatever. Oh yeah, and then Experiment 626 Top Gun. Top Gun's another film.
I forgot about that one. Yeah,
that's also I would say is in the same pool of Bill and Ted. The other thing to pay attention to is that it is primarily like the tentpole big franchises that are adopting this type of woke mentality.
Yes.
You take a look at some horror films, like smaller horror films, like from Blumhouse. So you take a look at the smaller productions from A24. They don't really have that agenda stuff in there, but again, they don't dominate the conversation because they're smaller films, right? So as a result, we, through just the abundance of advertising of these other films, we kind of conflate the idea that woke is all over Hollywood when it's really just in a really powerful and influential handful of Hollywood. There's lots of other movies out there that many of us don't even really know about, that don't have the agenda. They're just kind of like hidden gems. Oddly enough, the movie Hidden Gems with Adam Sandler that came out. That wasn't, as far as I can remember, I don't recall anything woke about that. And
This
a
goes
lot of
back
people
to
enjoyed
what I
that on
said
Netflix.
about the investors. That
Yep.
in some cases, it is those providing the money that have some very, very clear instructions for how it's going to be.
Right. And then like Roblox Gaming 4K sent us Canadian $2. Thank you, says wokeness equals new fascism. Oh yeah, and that's kind of been one of the quotes I've kind of adopted too, is cancel culture is fascism, because it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. I mean, the Bill and Ted thing, I've been hearing some weird rumors, like if it manages to open up like it's supposed to and people aren't afraid to go out, like there's this pent up like want to go do something, and the trailer was well enough received that I've been hearing rumors that they think the movie might do like 2 or 3 times better than they had originally planned on. Like they were figuring this movie would be lucky to do 150 to 200 million stateside, and that's a big if. Like they were figuring on the low end, but now I've been hearing rumors that people are talking, oh, this thing could make $400-500 million because of just people are pent up, and Keanu Reeves is at a high pitch right now, and all these other things that people didn't really take into consideration. But I've been hearing from a few different places that now again, folks, these are not like any of the trades saying like this is the estimates or anything like that for the box office. So don't take what I'm saying like that at all. Definitely take it with a grain of salt. This is just people I know that I've talked to that kind of analyze these things like we do, and there's things and factors that they've noticed or whatever, what have you, that gave them the assumption or the what's the word I'm looking for, they're predicting that this movie might do a lot better than people were originally thinking. Do you get what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, predictions is so you found it yourself, or postulating.
There you go. Yeah. And again, I can see that there is some factors to this film that some people didn't think about. And the fact that trailer, even though Andre didn't think the first trailer was that great, but I think they did a good job of not perpetuating the notion that this movie was going to be a woke mess, like some of the trades were kind of insinuating with the daughter business. The fact that they were only in one shot of the trailer tells me that they're not going to be in the film that much probably anyway. And this, as far as I know, I can't say too much right now other than because I've been in correspondence with one of the writers, obviously, that I've talked about before. This is the same script that was from years ago. So chances are this was written way before the woke business happened.
And if memory serves, that script was not typed out. It was written on a pad. So that's why I haven't been able to find it, is that there probably wasn't a digital copy until when they went into production.
No, I think someone had to scan it.
No, I think this is the same story that I've been told about before, where something happens in the future. Somebody did something that disrupted everything, and that's why Rufus is gone. And then we get into the multidimensional stuff like Mecca and I said, and I think part of the thing is they end up stealing the song from themselves, and that fucks up everything. So they have to keep going back and forth trying to fix shit, and they just keep messing shit up worse and worse and worse, is my guess.
That's to the point where they have to go back in time and stop themselves from stealing the song.
Exactly. And then
because that would be great. That's a great joke.
And then I have a feeling that like it's, and this is just me postulating again, to use the big word we just learned today. The secret word of the day. No, I think in the end it'll be like this might be where the movie goes woke. Either their daughters will help them write the song. They will write this song for their daughter's wedding, and that will be the song that they have written from the very start, kind of thing. It'll be a song that they have had that just never did anything with. Because if they go off of where they left off, they did learn how to play, but they only did one song and they never did anything since. Is kind of the whole setup. Yeah. Is like they just went back to being slackers, of course.
They just let the pressure of them, what Rufus told them of writing the song that will change the universe, just prevented them from actually doing it. Because it's like, oh, it's not good enough, dude. Oh, it's got to be good enough. What if we had Eddie Van Halen? No, we can't get Eddie Van Halen. You know,
and I get where Forbidden Ruins coming from. They could be doing it, but no, trust me, this is Hollywood, and the way they think. If they were going to get any kind, and Andre, you probably know what I'm saying. If they were going to get any points from going out there and just putting them all over everything, saying, look, we're woke, we got Bill and Ted the Next Generation and their girls, don't you think they'd be like pumping that everywhere?
They plaster it everywhere. Okay, because that's how you get brownie points. Here's like the thing: you don't get any brownie points for being woke if you don't say that you're woke. I mean, just look at the Orville. I mean, it champions trans rights. It's however inclusive you want it. All those things should be like the perfect project. It gets zero credit for it. Why? Because they just do it. They don't say it. They don't promote it. They don't have like a competition of outwoking each other or anything like that. They just do it. If this movie was woke, we would know, because they would freaking well tell you. Like even Dune, that I've been like saying that this isn't woke, apart from this tiny little bin, but that's just this little thing. Well, that's the tiny little thing that they blew up across all the headlines, and which everyone freaked out about. It's that tiny, tiny little thing. Nothing in the bigger scheme of things. That's the one thing that their marketing department chose to plaster across the headlines.
You're cutting out there a bit, Andre, but I think everybody kind of got what you were saying. And yeah, this is funny. Sandra Hammond's like, but what if the daughters married each other?
They're cousins, aren't they?
Huh?
They're cousins.
They're technically cousins, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because the princesses are their sisters.
Yeah, they're princesses. They're either sisters or cousins, and I can't remember which. But yeah,
I suspect that that they wrote a lullaby for their little girl.
That's what I was saying. Because yes, there's reasons for that. There's two reasons I have. I have a feeling it has something to do with their daughters, simply because there's the scene where they're in tuxedos and they're opening their arms like they're getting ready for a big hug, and it looks like it's at like an outdoor wedding or something to that effect. And the age of their daughters would make sense if they're getting married, and they're probably, and that's probably kind of the backdrop to this whole thing. So I have a feeling, like you just said, like this song that they end up using or doing was a song they ended up writing for their daughters to begin with. And the reason I think that's probable is because this movie made Kevin Smith cry like a little baby. He's gotten to see it already. So chances are, I have a feeling, I know that the end of this movie has something to do with the daughters and it all coming together in some kind of cute, sentimental way, because that's the way Bill and Ted are. They're sweet, they're genuine, they're not hateful, they don't do drugs, they don't swear.
No premarital sex.
Yeah, they're very straight edge, and people don't even really stop to think about how like innocent they are. Like they're they're like Beavis and Butthead, but you take away all of the perverted stuff, and the need and want to do bad things. Like they just want to love everybody and party. That's what they want to do. So
I just have to say one thing. I saw in the comment, Luffy is God, who I believe may be a countryman of mine, says that Robert Meyer Burnett said that he read the script to Dune and it follows the first book, so not woke, or actually allowed it's half of the first movie. I trust R&B. You know what? Two people in this panel have also read that script.
I skimmed it.
There's two people in this panel that has read the script in detail, and one that skimmed it. And you can absolutely trust Robert Meyer Burnett on this one.
Yes,
I
concur. I did not pick up any woke aspects of this script at all. I thought it was very faithful to Dune. And I am hoping that the movie becomes very successful so we can see part 2.
And I am impressed with the script. I'm really impressed with it because I'm a huge fan of Dune, the original book. And I was like thinking, I wonder what kind of liberties they're going to take. And they've sold everything beautifully. I was like, my mouth was open with how good the script was and just how brilliantly the story is conveyed.
And I didn't skip your super chat, Stone. Actually, there's a reason I saved it for second, because I wanted to get to DC's first, and there is good reason. I think you're going to like our answer to it. What doesn't make Kevin Smith cry like? I don't know what all that is, but I'm sure it's something baby.
I know the answer. Someone accusing his He-Man series of being
Which that's going to be an interesting thing.
Well, actually, it may make him cry, but for a completely different reason.
And I've been trying to get a hold of the Clownfish guys so we could talk to them about that whole thing, Andre, but I'll get back to you on that. Now, Stone Gassman asked this, and thank you so much for the super chat as well. Do you guys have any interest in seeing the extended cut of Last Blood and the possibility that Stallone might return for a 6th round of Rambo. And I've also been hearing that there's going to be a director's cut of Rocky IV. Now, Andre, we just had a conversation about this, did we not?
Yes, we did. And you know what? That's actually funny. I wish that when we had our roundtable discussion of Rambo Last Blood, that you and I had, Tom, along with Mr. H Reviews and with
Matthew Kadish.
With Matthew Kadish, exactly. And then we spoke about the movie. And then at some points it sounded like we had seen completely different movies. And then we ended the broadcast, and then we continued the conversation a little bit afterwards. And that's when we discovered that we had indeed seen completely different movies. Because the one that I saw in theaters was what you call the extended cut. And I was shocked to hear that there is even a shorter cut, because the extended cut is so much better. So as for me, yes, I have interested in seeing the extended cut, or put another way, I have zero interest in seeing the cut which isn't the extended cut, because the intro, which is the biggest change, that is what thematically sets up the whole movie. And I cannot for the life of me understand why the hell they would butcher that away.
Oh, there was more than that they butchered away. Yeah, because this is what spawned this whole thing. Is Matt didn't hate the movie, but he didn't like it.
Yeah.
And the rest of us liked it. And I think it took a course of more than just after that conversation, because we all kind of got an idea like something wasn't right, but then it was like 2 days later we had it confirmed that there was 2 complete different versions out there. And then we're like, well, that makes freaking sense. Like,
yeah,
what the hell?
Then you asked me, like, this picture right here, this like of Stallone in the cowboy outfit.
Oh yeah, that was also what did it. Was because you wanted to use it for a thumb, and I'm like, that's not even in the fucking movie. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's in the beginning of the movie. I'm like, no, it wasn't. They cut all that shit out.
Exactly. That's how basically because we had the discussion. That's of like that thumbnail. And yeah, I was like shocked. Like, what the hell? Were you asleep? Did you not
like
see
what movie did you watch? I think was your actual like obviously not the same one you did. That's like, I'm like, wait a minute. I think that's at the point I said like something's not right here. I wonder if they didn't cut this movie. And I think I started doing a little homework, and then like the next day or so, then other people started figuring out, and then they started doing stories on it. Now I remember. Yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we're like, yeah, there's obviously 2 different versions of this movie.
Yeah, and again, that picture that you said that you were like, that's not in the movie, and I was like, what are you talking about? That was the best part of the movie.
Like, nope, we never get to see Rambo in that, and like that's why I even wondered why they used that for the publicity shit. So I'm like, it's nowhere in the movie. Nowhere does he wear that outfit again in the movie, so it's like totally not in the movie. And then there's little bits and pieces, because I started watching the extended cut because it is on Amazon Prime for free right now, or you can buy it on like Vudu and I'm assuming iTunes and stuff for a really low price, but it's only in regular HD. It's not in 4K, unfortunately. Yeah. So they put the what is known as the extended cut now out in America, which is actually the international version, because and I know a few other people that were pissed off because they got the original international version in theaters, but when they got the video was the US cut.
Yeah,
so
I had the 4K. Because I found that out now too.
Okay, so that's the case. Well, then,
my 4K version of it, the one I was going to send to you, I'll still do it if you want it. But basically, the 4K is the theatrical, and the Blu-ray is the real version of the movie, which is what you call the extended. But in my vernacular, you really only have 2 versions. You have the real version, which is mislabeled the extended cut, and then you have the butchered shortened version, which no one ever needs to see.
What's the runtime of the extended cut?
It's like 10 minutes longer. Well, not that.
It's not 90 minutes. It's like an hour 40 type of thing.
Yeah, like 108 minutes. I think it is running. Because the whole entire opening is different. As you get into the first scene, there's a bunch of stuff that's chopped out there already. I didn't get to finish it, but somebody else told me that there's a bunch of other bits and pieces throughout that are cut. There's a big scene near the midsection between the 2 brothers that's cut. I guess that is very important.
Are you serious? They cut that? They cut all the best scenes. That's
what it sounded like. Because I talked to I'm not going to say his name because he's one of our sources, but I was talking to him about it, and he's like, "No, that's not," because he was pissed. because he finally got on video. It's like, this is not the version I watched in theaters.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I'm like,
that's what I thought too. That the version you got in theaters was the shit version, and the best scenes are in the extended.
now, Casperius asked, does it make it better? That's what we're going to find. And that leads us to the next part here. I asked the person, Matt, who didn't like the film, if he gets a chance to watch it soon to let us know, because we're going to try and reconvene now that we know that there's a different version. I'm going to try and rewatch it again. I only got to watch part of it the other night because I'm so freaking busy all the time. I don't get to sit down and watch a whole movie. I only got to watch like the first 30 minutes of it. I'm going to watch it all the way through. And then I might even watch the theatrical version just so I can compare it again, because I've only seen it in theaters once. And then I'll give my Mecca's done. Hey, Mecca. And then I'll give my take on it. And then we'll see if Matt thinks what he thinks of it. Script, it sounds like you haven't seen the other version either now until you're aware of it, or
no, I saw it in theaters, and it just didn't. I mean, it was a Rambo film, but just felt empty. So there's extended, but
I'm assuming the Canadian version was the same one we had here.
Usually is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just 90-minute flat.
Yeah.
They cut out they actually, I think Andre might be right. They might have cut out close to 20 minutes now that I think of it, because I think the other version runs 108 minutes.
Yeah, it's close to.
Yeah, because
it's between 10 and 20 minutes somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, and they make a huge difference.
That's pretty much an act. Like, you're at first act right there.
Oh yeah, the whole opening scene is there's a flood going on, and Rambo just shows up to help people. And the first thing he sees, without giving too much, so you can kind of just watch it, but like he sees the body of one of the people that got caught in the flood, and he has an instant flashback, and that kind of sets up his flashbacks through the rest of the film.
It's like another thing as well.
There's more to it, but I don't want to give it away. Yeah, like I said, like, there's so much, and I know where Andre's coming from now, and I have a feeling like it may not turn Matt to be like, oh yeah, it's a different film, but he'll probably be like, yeah, I probably would have liked it a little bit better, I bet. But again, wait and find out. We're going to watch it, folks, and hopefully we can coordinate this and we can do this soon. So, Stone, your super chat was well spent there, sir.
Absolutely. I will say one final thing about it. Yeah. I actually rewatched it with my wife, because the first time I went to see it on my own with a quiz and everything. So I won like free tickets for the cinema, for like the rest of the year, because there was like this competition going on in the cinema, that advanced screening, where you had like this Rambo quiz. And since I had just written our Rambo mini documentary,
rewritten my version anyway.
Yeah, sorry, it was actually yours. I rewrote it.
No, I don't deserve any credit. You rewrote. I don't even think two words of mine are together in there. So.
But you know how I rewrite. That's basically, I take everything you've written and I
literally rewrite everything.
I reassemble it again. So basically, I had all the information in my mind. So I won that one pretty easily. That was pretty cool. But anyway, I rewatched the movie with my wife afterwards, because it was filmed in Tenerife, and that's where she's from. So yeah, I rewatched it in the comfort of my own home. I was able to absorb it more, and it's a brilliant movie. It really is. I appreciated it so much more on second viewing. Sometimes movies don't hold up, but this one held up more on second viewing.
I think, and I don't know if Matt is going to get this from it, just from the bit I watched. And this is what I was saying to you, Andre. Oh, it's a totally different tone. It takes the tone being from, oh, Rambo's all domesticated now and he's got a kid, and oh shit, bad things happen to his kid, and it's a typical action revenge movie, into you can't leave the war. The war follows you home. Even though we thought Rambo's story was done, it's not, because no matter what he does, no matter how much peace he thinks he finds, that war is going to be with him for the rest of his life. And then there's
never had any peace in the extended
exactly.
version.
It's set up way differently, because in the version we have in America, it's set up like, oh, it's hunky dory. He's got, his maid who he's chummy with. He's got a daughter figure in his life. Rambo's got his shit together.
Oh
God. There's that whole bit where, you know what, he says, like, I can't remember the exact wording, but this is not in the American version. And this is a very poignant bit in that breakfast scene where he goes, I look out this window and I remember growing up here and wanting every single day to get the hell away from here. And now I realize how beautiful this place is. And something like that, to where and I'm so happy that what's her face can grow up here, like this. I can't remember all the words because he says it so beautifully and poignantly.
I
in the
know
film.
which scene you're referring to. I will
And
say
that
again,
scene
you
is completely gone and butchered.
They butchered all the good scenes that make the movie a great movie.
Yeah, everything where he's kind of reflecting on life in general, kind of, you see this idea of this is why he built the tunnels, because he knows that it's just kind of a thing for, like, it's a tick, but it's and that's where he has these flashbacks. Well, in this version, he has more flashbacks to the opening scene, and then they bleed into the other stuff, as opposed to the other version, it's just flashbacks to Vietnam. And it's just kind of like out of nowhere. And you're just kind of like, okay, you just showed us him being, stable, good, family, blah, 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 blah. Now you're going to give us this. This makes no sense. So I can see where the tonal shift probably turns somebody like Matt off. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I think as a writer, he will appreciate the extended version.
I think that's the way he's going to come away from it, definitely.
Yeah.
Willie Woodward sent us $2, said, I couldn't think of anything good question to ask. So hi, all. Well, thank you so much, Willie.
Greetings, Willie.
DCB Titan sends it a Canadian $2. Says, read the last two words backwards. So I'm supposed to say backwards words?
I think it's from his previous super chat.
Oh,
which actually makes a bit more sense when you scroll up and you're like, oh, that's what he.
Until HTCTIB.
So it's not sword.
Like bitch, like a bitch and tail. Oh, gotcha. Never mind. Because he can't super chat the word bitch. Very clever, DC. You didn't have to super chat again for that, but I appreciate that. And Mecca, I didn't know if you wanted to come in and talk or not. I'll send you the link here. Rob's not around. I don't know where the hell Rob. He's probably barbecuing or something with his brothers. I didn't really want to bother him either way. I just told him, we're doing it. If you want to show up, cool. I never heard from him, so whatever. But yeah, so Batman, that was the subject we were going to jump onto here. So you did a video earlier, Andre. So give us a quick rundown of your take on this whole Batman business. You were starting to talk about it before we got into that wonderful super chat that actually kind of sent us on a good road. I'm not going to complain. So
well, yeah, basically, long story short is that if we go back in time just 3/4 of a year, then life was easy for Warner and DC. They were in complete control of DC on film. They had their Batman set, which was Matt Reeves' Batman, which is Robert Pattinson's Batman. This is their one Batman for the future, was their plan then. This is who they want for a trilogy, although, of course, it's just one movie that's written or something, but still they want a trilogy because that's like a nice marketing line, although it's not constructed as a trilogy in any way, shape, or form. And then comes AT&T, and they say that basically that, you know what, we're not quite happy with how you've been running DC on film. Let's have a look at this Snyder Cut thing, because we really could use something cool for HBO Max. And there seems to be customer demand for Snyder Cut, so maybe that can be our Mandalorian, for lack of a better term. So they check it out. And they find, and they have a screening, and the higher ups at AT&T, they're like, the hell, this is brilliant. This is so much better than what was in theaters. What else have you been holding out on us? And that then basically starts the snowball rolling, with AT&T getting more and more involved, taking more control over the DC operation, taking it out of the hands of the producers that have been working on it for the last few years. So what we have, and they are not nearly as hot on either Matt Reeves or Robert Pattinson as the people at Warner are. They just aren't. Like, the people at Warner, they are all about Matt Reeves and Pattinson. They want a trilogy. AT&T, they're more like, we'll try the first one and we'll see how that works out. Meanwhile, we'd really like to get Keaton back. Oh, and Affleck was pretty sweet too. Let's get him back as well.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, the one thing that everybody liked, you got rid of. And this, and not to interrupt you, Andre, but this does go back to what we heard before, though, too, about when we heard that Matt Reeves didn't want Pattinson, but the studio did. That actually goes back
like
to
Warner
that.
Brothers wanted him.
Yeah. So that jives with that. So, and
heck, I'll volunteer to replace him. I've got a 44-inch chest and a 34-inch waist. I'm already bigger than Pattinson right now.
He is the whitest man on YouTube. Sister Harrow Send in Australian $10. Thank you so much, dear. Says 3 Batman face palm. That's all. Yeah, it could get a little confusing. And yeah, really, the only one I could do without is Pattinson, probably, and I haven't even seen him in the call yet. But anyway, sir, you were saying, Andre, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah. No, so basically, so far, technically, there is just one. But from what I've been hearing, which are just rumors, but from what I've been hearing, it's very, very likely that they're going to get the other 2. It's exceedingly likely that Michael Keaton will be back, and it's exceedingly likely, of course, pending a reception to the Snyder Cut. But if that works out, then Batfleck will be back too, to finish the exact same movie that he was going to write and direct before, is what he'll be doing for HBO Max. So far, that's just a one-off. So the early rumors were about maybe like converting it into a TV series. Last I heard right now is that TV series is off the docket. So there obviously have been some talks. Well, the movie is what they want to do right now. So we are in a position where we then could potentially be having 3 Batman within short span of each other. And to me, the one that gets the short end of the stick in that equation is Pattinson. That's what I think.
I mean,
but what do you guys think? Script, you haven't spoken for a while.
Well, I think it's a brilliant idea on AT&T's part to actually say, yeah, we know you want a trilogy, but let's see how the first one plays first. There's nothing more brilliant in Hollywood that a studio could do than say that, because there is an axiom, which is you don't write the sequels while you're still making the first film, because you're not focused on making the first film as good. And you're also saying, well, whatever we forget in the first film, we'll just make up for in the sequel. But they're not taking into account of the audience not knowing that you're going to have all those issues solved in the sequel, and therefore you get basically a Disney Star Wars trilogy thing where it's a hodgepodge of a mess because the films don't coalesce with each other. You have to make each film a standalone, and then you throw on a little tag at the end to bring people in for a possible follow-up. And if there is no follow-up, it's no harm. But when you make one movie that's reliant on there being sequels, it's bad news for everybody. And so I'm happy with AT&T saying, yeah, let's see how the first one plays out. I think it's a brilliant strategy for them to also build up their HBO Max streaming platform by having obviously the Snyder Cut, by possibly having negotiations with Ben Affleck to do his script, which I think they're probably, if they do go with it, I think they're probably going to make it like a feature film special and treat HBO like an alternative to Netflix with their own HBO special films. And who knows how they're going to use Michael Keaton in that capacity, but I would love to see him back in the role.
Tom?
Yeah. Well, as Zach Z says, 4 if they do Batman Beyond. That's true. Yeah,
no, that's still only 3 Batman, because then it's going to be like the Batman Beyond Batman plus Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is going to be the real draw there.
Well, right, but he means there will be a new younger Batman in that one too.
That is.
So there will be 4 at one point if this actually happens. But yeah, I agree with the whole. I mean, we've gotten in this world where they worry too damn much about the movies that are coming, down the road than they are the movie that they're working on. Like Ed Brewer says, or you get Lord of the Rings. Well, there's a difference between like things like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. And this is a shameless plug. Go check out our Robert Shea interview, and you'll see that Lord of the Rings only happens because of Robert Shea.
Yeah,
and it's because he had the wherewithal and the foresight to know that, either everybody's going to go see all 3 of these or nobody's going to go see them. So it's like you might as well have all of them at once or none of them. And otherwise, we would have got 2 movies with all 3 stories crammed into those 2 movies, and they would have been produced by the Weinsteins.
If memory serves, that's similar to the animated feature, right?
Pretty much. That was the plan for that, yes. That never came to fruition. But they did the first film, Bakshi did, but then they never finished it.
And the also advantage being with Lord of the Rings compared to something like Star Wars or any other franchise is that Lord of the Rings is an adaptation. There's already a story, so you know how to break it up across multiple films,
right?
And you have a bit more discipline to get it all all down. The other part that's also kind of strange, like The Hobbit's only one book, but they broke that up into 3 movies, and they really didn't have to.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a different animal.
and you can see how it can work against the property as well. It just requires a sturdy head on a person's shoulders when it comes to adaptation.
Well, in comparison to something like Star Wars, though, you can plan a trilogy for Star Wars. It used to be people would expect it. You know, if you're going to do another trilogy, you're going to do a trilogy. People will know that off the bat. That's fine. Then you need to plan it. But when it comes to superhero movies, you know, you got to kind of. I hate going back.
They need to be episodic, really.
Kevin Feige had the right idea early on. Now, I'm not speaking to what's going to happen in the next few years here, but we're talking about the first Iron Man, the first Hulk film, and the first Thor and Captain America. How those films were handled. That there was a plan in place, but each film didn't rely on the other one to exist until you get down to post Avengers world. Then they start to. But you need to be able to build your foundation, and that was the problem with the DCEU. To get back on the Batman subject here, was you had Man of Steel, which was a faulty base, which originally was supposed to be Green Lantern, which is an even faultier base. You know, so you're like,
and I'm so glad we didn't get Berlanti and Mark Guggenheim's the Flash script, because that was also really bad.
Oh boy, I didn't hear that one. I didn't read that one, obviously, but no, and I mean that's where I was kind of getting to, is like, you know, if it was a situation where they weren't banking on so much and had already like set that train in motion with Zack Snyder, things could have been retooled maybe, you know, and maybe Zack Snyder could have stuck around. Things may have worked out differently. Because again, the shittiest part of this whole thing, and I think this is kind of what you were referring to in your editorial today, Andre, was you're starting to warm up to what Zack had in mind. Like, because, you know, looking back compared to what we got since then, outside of Shazam and maybe Aquaman, and I don't really care for Aquaman, but I know a lot of people do. I'm kind of looking back and going, I'd rather go back down that route and see what he was up to here, because I don't like the way this is looking. Because it was, as we said in our reviews, Andre, you know, the Justice League was just way too much of an overcompensation. It was a turn in the right direction, but then they just missed Albuquerque by like 20,000 miles.
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right. Well, I guess you don't have much to add to that then.
So I'm becoming a fan of what AT&T are doing there. I really am.
Well, I mean, I like the idea. I'm more of a fan. Okay, let me put it this way. I'm more of a fan of them trying to give the fans what they want. That I'm more of a fan of. I'm not gonna get my hopes up for the Snyder Cut. I'm not going to get my hopes up for, you know, anything going beyond that. I'd like to think that this is what we're setting up for. I'd like to think that Michael Keaton's coming back, but until something's set in stone, I'm not going to get my hopes too high, if that makes sense, obviously. But
well, that's fair. I mean, it's better to be excited than it is to have your hopes like elevated or inflated and then be completely crushed when what you're hoping for doesn't happen. So.
Aquaman was decent, but Momoa made it. That's right. It was Sons of Aquamanarchy. That's the only reason. Nikki D said $10. Thank you so much. Is it true that most of Disney's films production are on hold approximately for the next 9 months, including the Phase 4 movies? If so, how does that affect their financials moving forward? That's a very good question. It's funny because I said we might as well start getting into that. Why not? We were talking just before the show about the Pinewood situation. There's a rumor going around that Disney is talking about their productions being on hold for the next 9 months to a year. Script, you heard something kind of along these lines. Why don't you fill us in on what you heard, and then we'll hear what Andre has to say about it.
Well, what I heard goes back to something I brought up on this show a few months ago, that I sent you guys a list of studios and how they're going to be addressing the pandemic and the lockdown. And one of the only studio on there that was not doing anything, was in salvage mode, was Disney. And if this rumor is true, that sort of is corroborated by the fact that Disney is not taking any new pitches. They're all doing salvage mode right now. So anything that was in development would be on temporarily hold, or anything that started going into production would probably be scrapped, and they'd start reallocating those funds to something else once they get everything organized for the new proceedings and how they're supposed to film things given the pandemic. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. They're so far as far as I know, they're the only studio that has got rumors in this vein. Haven't heard anything about CBS or Paramount, Viacom, or Warner Brothers, or Universal or Sony doing any taking any type of measures like this. So it's pretty interesting.
Absolutely, it is, and it means that it could be quite a while before we both get anything new, Star Wars and Marvel, that hasn't been filmed already. And of course, more remakes of the animated movies, which honestly I don't think anyone is missing anyway. But yeah, this is not helping the Marvel brand, is it? Because it's going to be a really, really long gap between basically the previous Marvel movie, the current ones, which are ready to be released, and anything that comes after that. And like the one Marvel movie in development that people are excited about right now, as far as I'm getting, is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And who knows how long it's going to be before we actually see that movie now. That could suddenly be 2-3 years away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my
2020 is the first year we are not going to have a Marvel movie aside from maybe Black Widow, if that does get released at all this year.
No,
that's
like
a big
Andre,
if.
yeah, and like Andre was just going to say, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was probably started. As far as I know, I think it was supposed to start filming this month. Yeah. Last I knew, because Gunn was supposed to go directly from finishing Suicide Squad into that.
And yeah, because he wrote the script before they fired him, and as far as anyone knows, that's the script they're going to be using and what he's going to be basing himself off of.
Well, this pandemic helped them, if anything, because originally, from what I heard, that whole fucking situation threw everything into disarray. When he got fired, that's why the Big Bob and Feige supposedly, reportedly, allegedly, whatever word you want to put there, were upset with everybody because they weren't consulted on the situation. And what's his face?
Alan Horn.
Alan Horn made the decision without them, and
it had effects on Infinity War, from my understanding as well.
Yeah, that was the thing that pissed everybody off. Was like, wait a minute, this was the guy that was supposed to oversee the next X amount of years of the cosmic phase of Marvel.
Cosmic phase, yeah.
And you just threw his ass out the door without even consulting us. And then on top of that matter, like you said, they were in the midst of Infinity War, and I think it affected not Infinity War, but Endgame is what it affected. If I remember.
Sorry, yes, you're right. It affected Endgame because I remember hearing like funny stories on set as they were shooting Endgame that had a lot more content with Captain Marvel, with Hulk, with Black Widow, and I think they probably had another different like 45 minutes of different story that would be in there that I think Gunn was in charge of overseeing as part of his contributing factor to that, because a lot of the directors that have been on previous Marvel films had their hand in Infinity War.
Well, yeah, as far as I know, like he picked all the songs, I think, and even wrote some of the dialogue and a few others, and he obviously consulted on them bits. Or if not, at least the Whedon, or not Whedon,
the Russos.
The Russos. I was thinking of the first Avengers again. The Russos had to run it through him either way, I think was the deal, because he talked about it. I don't remember exactly how he said he had to, but he did consult with him on it or whatever it was. But no, and then of course they brought him back, and they thought, from what I heard, again, this is all speculation, that it threw everything into a tizzy, so they had to change up a bunch of shit. But now the situation we're in right now might put them right back on schedule to where they were before that even happened. Mm-hmm. Because they're getting an extra year, basically. If you look at it, it may be even closer to 2 years at this point. If this really drags out another 9 to 12 months, it is almost a year now that we've been dealing with that whole thing. So a year and a half at least, if you look at it that way. Anyway,
I think it's going to.
I think you're right, Andre. I think this is just the beginning, and this is another reason why I've held off a little bit on my editorial, because I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I don't think anybody is.
You know what? The way things are right now, I'm not even sure Dune is going to be released in its release date.
Yeah.
That's why I was like earlier, like I'm like, well, Bill and Ted, if it comes out, because there's already been rumblings about it just coming straight to streaming as well. So,
Well, Tenet was delayed again, so
yeah, well, and Tenet's not going to go straight. That's one thing I know for a fact.
oh
Won't
yeah,
go straight
it's
to
going to
streaming.
theaters. It's just when those theaters open.
No, I know, but just Nolan will never let that movie open up on streaming only.
I look forward to seeing it in August next year.
That's probably about when we'll see it. You're probably about right on that, Andre. And thank you, Culture, for the super sticker. I didn't know you were around, or I probably would have invited you. Maybe I'll send you an invite here in a minute. I don't know how much longer we're going to be going here. So, but no, I think you're 100% right on that. I think we're looking at a situation that, all joking aside, that could drag out a lot longer than we first anticipated. And we're looking at a lot of the worst case scenarios. Oh, I'm supposed to look at Alex Winter's tweet. Let me check that out. I think we're looking at some of the worst case scenarios that we were talking about earlier, guys. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, we're looking at the worst case scenarios for Hollywood and for the economy as a whole. Let's be clear about that. That's
right. That's what I mean. Yeah,
where
yeah.
the worst case scenarios are. Nowhere fucking else. Just to be clear about that. But yeah, where Hollywood is concerned, we're looking at worst case scenarios.
Well, yeah, but mostly like a lot of also social functions too, like your movie theaters, your stage plays, concerts, those types of things. They're still going to be affected, unfortunately, for the next little while. I just got told today at my work that we're going back to full-time hours starting Tuesday, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm going to start making money again. That'll be nice. But it's just really like the outside of entertainment areas that are getting back to normal. It's the art fields they're going to suffer for a while, it looks like.
All I really see is just he posted something about Bill and Ted, so I mean, I don't know if that's just insinuating that everything's still on track or what, but yeah, it was in the UK one. Oh, it indicates they may be. Where? I'm not seeing that. Unless I'm not seeing the tweet here. Send me the link, Mecca. I think you can. Yeah, you just send it to me in MEAD or whatever. So check it out. But yeah, so other than that, what was the other thing we were going to talk? Oh, BreeTube.
Oh God.
So Andre, I'm sure
was it at 50% dislike ratio now?
Yeah, it's over like 52%. This business, what's your take on this? You haven't had the chance to say a word about BreeTube yet.
I haven't even seen her video.
You're fucking
but basically, just knowing what she's on about, I can only guess what it's all about. And of course, Google are gonna promote the hell out of it. It just goes to show the real agenda of certain things, that it's gonna get so promoted and so get such preferential treatment. It's kind of ridiculous, but in a way, I'm happy about it. You know why? Because people need to see. They need to be able to see the incredible bias. They need to see just how bad things really are. To put it in historical context. I don't mean to get all political, but right now, if you've ever wondered how could the Nazis take over Germany, what you're seeing on the streets in America right now, this is what Germany looked like in 1938. People need to see what the hell is going on so that they can have a backlash against it. That's what needs to happen. And for that, people need to see that we need more takeovers by Brie Larson, just so that people can be snapped out of their comfort zone and react to the madness and takeover of society that's going on around them.
Speaking of snapping, I love this comment. Thanos, so how many comments should I snap out of existence? Moderator, yes.
Exactly.
No, there's a lot of people complaining. And this is the other funny thing. This has not budged since the night this video dropped. It stopped at 489 replies and has not gone up. Oh, look at this. Somebody thinks that she should do a collab with Mecha Random 42 or Yellow Flash. How interesting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That is a good idea. And I can think of the Quartering and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers and a few other people who would be great interviewers for her. Anyway, so I'm going to reshare this with some audio. Fuck it. Nobody said they've gotten it. You know what? She's going to come after us. Let her. She's just going to make us famous. So.
Well, it's interesting. The you look at the like and dislike ratio bar there, and it's like 52% is pretty. It's not good.
That's actually more than that. This was way higher than this was before everything started. But then the moment we all found out about it, the moment people started finding out about it, the dislike ratios just started getting ratioed to a motherfucker. And then a lot of people in the chat, you had a lot of these weird people going, "Why so many dislikes?" It's like when you got people saying that, it's just weird.
Those are the real bots, even Russian. Although it's very convenient to blame MEAD whenever there's something unpopular. So yeah.
Right.
Hi. I'm Brie Larson.
Look how fucking manipulative.
Know me from Captain
Yeah.
Look, that pisses me off. Like, hi, I'm so innocent. Don't you find me so charming? Yeah. Fucking.
Are you trying to say I'm acting? It's just that big word that the white guy said.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's trying to be like so innocent and charming and a little manipulative. Yeah, I don't even get me started. It was good that I wasn't there for for the discussion you had on Friday Night Lights or whatever it was. Because
the hell
I would have gotten cancelled after that probably.
Marvel, or maybe you know me from nothing.
Well, actually, here's the thing. I'm uncancelable.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here first you should know this with some preface. She had a lot of help with this.
Of course, obviously.
First of all, she had a buttload of. You're going to see a buttload of like big, like who's of YouTubers. Evidently, I've never watched any one of them.
Oh, they're the smallest of things.
And I couldn't do it without all these people. Her hair person, her best friend.
She actually had makeup in that video. It doesn't look like it.
She obviously had lighting people and camera operators and editors. Because there's no way she did this shit on her own. And then the manipulation, you were bitching already about the manipulation, Andre. Just wait till you get into these jump cuts. That was a slip. Jump cuts. And you'll can tell that this is completely planned. Like this is almost scripted, planned to be like mess ups.
Hi, I'm Brie Larson. Oh God. Hi, I'm Brie Larson. I'm an actor. You might know me from Captain Marvel, or maybe you know me from nothing. Maybe you just randomly from the algorithm clicked on this, but regardless, hello, I'm starting a YouTube channel.
Because the algorithm is going to give you such preferential treatment.
Of course it is.
Question. YouTube has been a place that I have learned so much, whether it's been like how to use my printer, or it's been watching like how to be a considerate activist. This is like the place to talk about things that
because those are equatable.
You watch YouTube for two things: printer and activism.
Yeah, because those two things are very equatable. I go from 1 minute thinking about how I could help Black Lives Matter to how the fuck do I run my printer.
Well, you got to print out those flyers, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't mean that there isn't also silly content, that there's ways for me to express myself personally, but there will also be deep conversations, anti-racist rhetoric, inclusive content. So with all that said, the following video is...
There you go, Andre. That was one of the first big...
Yeah.
Oh.
All the keywords of... Yeah, I'm not going to even go started because that will get this channel struck down in an instant.
Yeah, this is a time bomb. And Mecca and a few others are right, I think. I think this whole thing was put out there just to basically... in a couple days, we're going to see a slew of... the anti-whatever-istophobes on YouTube. Of course they went after Brie.
Me so much.
But she was instantly fucking check marked. She was instantly monetized.
Don't
Speaking of monetization.
Best Buy. WikiBuy can save you
You can,
money.
huh?
It's a browser.
This guy's so trying to be Jeremy. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all.
Oh, of course Mecca shows up for this.
No, like I literally just got
you're
food
Brie,
made
you're like,
in front of me.
me.
Yeah. No, they're already going after us. They're already making. I already have a hit piece coming in from We Got This Covered that came out last night.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, they're already starting. And if you notice all of her professional edits in her most generic, unoriginal content, I thought YouTube didn't just have all this unoriginal content, you know? She's doing the exact same video all these other YouTube Rewind celebrities, the corporate YouTube celebrities are doing. They're not even YouTubers anymore.
Bullshit. But here at this point, when we get to something that's very interesting, I wanted Andre to hear.
Because I think that it's about being myself. If I think about too, like what my days are like, especially right now, it's like having Zoom calls with different activists, intaking a lot of information,
Promoting Zoom,
tough conversations. Yeah. I'm a white woman with privilege and a platform, so it just doesn't make any sense to me to like just make it all about me the whole time. I mean, Zoom calls with different activists.
Let's hear that one more time.
Taking a lot of information, having tough conversations. I'm a white woman with privilege and a platform, so it just doesn't make any sense to me to like just make it all about me the whole time. I mean,
I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, she has to make it about the people that she can get on to adorn her.
Exactly. Yep. I was gonna say. I can assume what you're gonna say, Andre.
Worship me.
Worship me.
And to talk about the whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just say her point of privilege there, Andre. Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it about as much as I could, and also to address a comment. Christian FS said, "Whoa, I don't think I've ever seen Andre this angry before." Tom, have you seen me this angry before?
A couple times, not many.
Not
There's
many.
one time I can think of, and that was the time that you created a shit list, and I didn't even know that was possible. But it had one name on it, and I'm not going to say who, but yeah.
It's me.
No. This had to do with a situation recently.
This was with the R&B situation.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but okay. Yeah. So yeah, he's like, that guy's on my shit.
That wasn't
list.
the you got a shit
list
on there. Yeah, like I created one for the occasion.
Dex Luther sent us a Canadian $5. How to be considerate activists so I can do the complete opposite.
Exactly. Right. There you broke the code. To be a proper narcissist, you have to say one thing and then do the opposite. And then project what you do onto the other side, like any good narcissist or like any good activist of this variety.
Well, she's talking about her privilege. I'm like, okay, your privilege is that you get to have preferential treatment on YouTube. If you like you are the problem. You are the white privilege you're yelling about and being upset by. That is exactly what you're doing. Also, to show how much preferential treatment they give, I sent you a screenshot that Matt Deckard sent us on Twitter about how much, like, he was just looking up something completely unrelated, and they're recommending Brie Larson in his recommendation. So if you want to screenshot
that's
that.
like
yeah,
smoking,
I said
right.
What are you saying, Script?
That's for like if you search up videos about smoking cigars and then you see her on the list.
Well, this gets even better. Yesterday, when I opened up my YouTube yesterday, the first thing that popped up on there was her comment that she posted. I'm not even fucking subscribed to her. And that was the first thing that popped up on my YouTube. And other people said the same thing.
I have a better thing. You see, I'm a huge space exploration nut when I'm not doing movies and stuff like that. And I was like looking for some things about rocketry and rocket science, and more specifically about the N1, the failed Russian equivalent or the failed Soviet equivalent of the Saturn V, which is one of the most glorious technical feats of engineering ever, but I won't get too much into that. But anyway, even when looking for basically information about the N1, I got Brie Larson recommended. How the hell is that possible? It shouldn't be possible, yet it happened.
Because the algorithm.
Exactly.
All right, so yeah, we got a couple super chats here. Sister Harold sent another Australian $5. Thank you so much. What is sad is they could have had a smart, beautiful, and funny actor like Emily Blunt for Captain Marvel. Oh yeah, there's at least half a dozen choices we all came up with that would have been.
I want Reese Witherspoon, man. Like, she still looks good.
I'm not a big fan of hers, but I would have took her over Brie Larson any day. Lars Hansen sent in a $20 Danish krona, or 20. I do that every damn time. 20 Danish krona super chat. Brie Larson in or out off the MCU? Now, that is a very interesting kind of question. Click on the pic. Okay. I'll click on the pic. What did he Google? Mark Twain pipe and all that shit. And okay. So this is what Andre was just saying.
Yeah, yeah. How do you Google Mark Twain pipe and what does she have to do with any of it? Was she just promoted? Like,
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Or better yet, what does she have to do with rocket science?
Yeah.
Or Mark Twain pipes. Or me just opening
maybe
my
pipe up. Maybe she has a burning sensation like rockets.
I don't know, but from now on, I'm calling Andre Rocket Man.
Or maybe she'll blow up on re-entry or something.
Well, no, okay, so like, as a joke, Mecca, I think you kind of started this a while back off Bree's comments of we need more women of diversity and da-da-da-da-da. And
yeah.
Anyways, so you're like, yeah, well, then why don't you step the fuck down, Bree, and actually let a woman of color play Captain Marvel like she's supposed to?
Mm-hmm.
And you and a lot of other people brought that up, and then all of a sudden there was an actual what do you call it? A campaign started online.
Oh, the petition should be at
petition,
like
that's what it is. Yeah,
probably 100,000 right now.
Yeah, so this was a while ago, and then people are starting to bring it up in actuality, like other people, to where it was like, you guys weren't the only ones who said that, and I'm like, oh yeah, Mecca and them were saying that shit a while back, and there's even a petition for it. So this could happen, but I doubt it. Here's the thing, and I started to wonder about, and I'm like, thinking this funny because we were on Comics Division talking about this whole reset the world kind of thing going on, and how all these things are going down. It's like, all these white women and activists and stuff that are all for this shit. I think you got a point there, Mecca, that I think they're going to be all fine and dandy about this until it looks like their jobs are in jeopardy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, look at the mayor of Seattle. Until it came to her place, she was fine with everything. So then once it landed in hers, oh no, now we got to stop it. So that's what's going to happen.
Please tell me everyone knows that. Please tell me everyone sees that level of hypocrisy.
They don't. They have no idea.
Really,
this has been happening for the past decade. This started with this no negativity culture, I think, where they started this, oh, you can't say anything bad about anything. You have to like everything, or you have to like everything ironically. And then it spread into this where they're just the most nasty, negative, horrendous people, and they don't even realize it. They don't even realize how vile and bitter and hateful and negative they're being. And it's like the guy that I jumped on in the Ryan Johnson thread the other day, where he just had to go and attack the Last Jedi fans again. It's like, okay, you guys are doing the same crap though. You're out there poking the hornet's nest when nobody was saying a damn thing. It's like, and that's exactly what Brie Larson's doing. She's out there poking the fucking hornet's nest for no reason. There's no reason she needs to be on YouTube. She could just go and guest on somebody else's channel. She could just do a
This is a response to her Brisson commercial. You know that, right? Because we went after her so hardcore.
Yeah.
That she got so butthurt that she's like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm going to come in your domain and I'm going to muscle all over your ass. And then I'm going to fucking, do this, do that. And she's going to act all like Andre said, all like, oh, I'm so cute and innocent and blah, 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 bullshit. And the other part of this,
not the one making that decision. She's just a point person.
Oh, that too. Yeah. But this is all a game for her. She has nothing else going on. She can't do anything else. This is the same thing that a lot of the TV hosts are running into right now. They're bored.
Yep. They need attention. They want something to do. They got all their millions, but they can't go anywhere and enjoy them.
Well, the TV hosts have nothing to promote, and that's what their job was, to promote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to wonder how much money she actually has left, considering how heavily fucking monetized she is for this. I'm wondering
if the expenses that she would have had prior, yeah.
Because there's a few people at us, I think you were part of them conversations too, Script, where we've talked about the possibility of where she could have easily spent that $5 million already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
First, right off the bat, 20% of it goes to taxes, probably. And then she's got to pay.
Unless she has unless she incorporated herself, in which case she can get a little.
Well, yeah. So there's that, but still, regardless, she's still got to pay her managers or
her agent and managers. Yeah, that's about 15%.
All those people involved, and this was her first big haul, because before this, I'm willing to bet she has not got a big payday. because like
No.
she's been on the
Not
rise.
in the
but-
millions. She was making
Yeah,
like
yeah.
100,000s. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, she downgraded to Captain Marvel, didn't she? Because normally you work your way up. So she was a pop star. Then she got into movies like Scott Pilgrim. Then she was like in movies in the background. Then she won an Oscar for an indie movie. Then she downgraded to superhero, downgraded to talk show host, downgraded to car salesman, and now she's on YouTube. And if you look at this article, she might be broke actually, because she's tried out for Star Wars, Terminator, Hunger Games. They all turned her down. There's more, but Hunger Games.
Wow, Cosmic Book News said this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think they're pretty good. I like Cosmic Book News.
They're not as bad as some of the other guys, but I take a lot of what they say with a grain of
I
salt.
think she auditioned for Terminator Genesis, not Dark Fate.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure she's far from broke, yes. But what is breaking is her
broke by hyper rich standards, but she's far from broke by normal people standards. And also, I assure you, she's not doing this on her own accord. She has someone behind her that's going to pay her a rate for doing this. And whatever YouTube nets her is a bonus on the side.
Oh yeah, she's probably got sponsorship deals lined up already.
I guarantee.
Oh, I think this was YouTube's doing. I really do. I mean, of all the celebrities, of all of them, which one would be the one that they could pick that would set us off?
Well, with the amount of Brie Larson videos that are out there before her appearance, yeah, the algorithm would favor her having her own channel.
They knew exactly who to pick.
And YouTube, they're about to lose Joe Rogan. So they're going to have something else to basically draw traffic, something to promote, stuff like that. So basically, she is getting paid. I'm not going to speculate by who, but Google is definitely paying her a fixed salary in addition to whatever revenue her channel is making. So yeah, like this.
Oh, the revenue is for her on this is kind of peanuts.
To her, this is a job. She's hired for this.
That's what I was going to say. She's making her money off of something else here. That was my whole implication, and you made my point for me in the end, Andre. They lost Joe Rogan. They needed something right now, and like Script was kind of saying, I guarantee you, her name comes up in their algorithm on the other side as the number one. Because between all the videos that are done about her, the stupid shit she says, and then the standard media covers her crap almost as much as we do, if not more. So, I mean, look at Mecca. You get confused. You get accused constantly of bashing Brie.
Yeah.
So,
I've been really sarcastic with it, and I've been mocking, but because you can't just rib on them anymore, because then they're going to be like, oh, now you're going after a YouTuber. And it's like, no, I'm going after a Hollywood Oscar winner who's downgraded to YouTuber.
Yeah, that's my kind of thing, is like, my first gut reaction was, how should we react to this, considering it's yet another fucking quote unquote celebrity trying to come in on a platform that was built for people like us, not for people like her. But then I started feeling, oh, now I'm starting to sound just like her. So it's like, all right, no, you're right. Everybody's right. Let her have her shot. Let her see what she can do. But the other part that bothers me isn't even that so much as what Andre was saying from the very, 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 very start, is how this is a complete packaged Google/YouTube probably did this allegedly from the start, the get-go. This was their plan, and I that's where I'm sitting with it. I just don't like.
And also, you said a really important thing. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, but
no. Go ahead.
Or anyone else does. You said that YouTube was kind of like meant for us, for smaller creators. It started out that way.
Right.
It isn't like that anymore. For Google today, us smaller creators, we're a nuisance right now. They're not here for us. I mean, if you, for instance, Google any topic, like for instance, Google Biden, for instance, then you're going to want to hear the thoughts of Rogan. You're going to want to hear Tim Pool. You're going to want to hear The Hill. You're going to want to hear Jimmy Dore. You're going to want to hear the Young Turks, whatever your preference is. You're going to have to search a while before you get to that. Because the only thing that YouTube and Google is going to give you is CNN, a little bit Fox News, more CNN, and some
MSNBC, yeah.
MSNBC, all of those stuff. It's now all about the corporate things. That's what basically most of the algorithmic changes the last couple of years have been about. It's been about promoting the big corporate stuff at the expense of us. That's why we barely have a video that has a lifespan longer than 2 days right now, unless you massively hit something that goes viral. Like, we put a video out like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, that would have a good shelf life of a month. We put the same video out the last year, it has a shelf life of a day. Mecca, I know you agree with this.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'll still see your Ghostbuster videos in my recommendations from years ago, but I won't see anything after the first 2 days for any Fandom Menace sort of channel, for Geeks and Gamers, or even Quartering, or even the stuff I watch that's completely unrelated, like coin pushers from independent YouTubers in Japan. You know, I won't see any of their stuff except the same 5 main recommended videos. And I'm noticing that with my own videos too. I'm still getting comments on, 2-year-old She-Ra videos.
No, and Andre was kind of making my point for me, and I was going to bring back around to what I was saying before. Was it used to be for people like us, and I think that's specifically why they picked Brie, because they knew that it was going to be the one thing to ruffle the feathers of. And I'm not saying Midnight's Edge. I'm talking about like the Quartering and Geeks and some of the bigger, more prominent, because we just do like our type of video. So I mean, we are on radars, but we're not on the kind of radars like some of these other guys who are.
You guys are just as harsh with the Captain Marvel stuff as somebody like me.
They treat us that way, but like even you, I would say, would probably be one that gets more attention for it than like some other.
Anymore. See, here's the thing. Once they realized that I was using that for my own advantage, then they stopped. And I was bitching about this on my own stream today, where like you know how Esquire made that hit piece on World Class Bullshitters and Doomcock.
Yeah.
Right. And like these type of big companies and big publications know that I'm going to see that, and I'm going to be like, oh, thank you for making me famous, and that's why they completely ignore me. Plus, I go against their narrative.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you also, their message is always, oh, women don't like this. Women, or you're a sexist misogynist if you don't like this.
Well, I love that article because that fucker blew up in their face.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even do the research enough to realize fucking Jeff's not white.
Yeah, I know. That's so funny.
That's the best part of that. Anyway, Nikki D sent $5, says Catherine Winnick, who played Lagertha. Am I saying it right, Andre?
Yes, that's right.
From Vikings TV show would have been a good Captain Marvel. What do you think? I've not seen the show.
So good. She's amazing. My God, what a woman! But yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into that. Yeah, she would have been great. She would have been great in anything.
Sorry. I was just reminded here on this one article that I linked to you guys about Brie Larson's already facing backlash for the new YouTube channel. Yeah, they actually do. They're lumping in. Well, they have that same narrative. Oh, it's ruffling all the dudes. Brie Larson started a YouTube channel, and all the content dudes are not handling it well. And if you look at whose videos they point out, well, a couple of those aren't necessarily dudes. So it's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Basically, everything plays right into the victim mentality. Look, here she comes. She's so sweet and innocent, and everyone likes her.
She didn't do anything wrong.
Talks about these good and noble causes. She's such a great person, inspiration for us all. And then these toxic males and Trump supporters all come and trash them with their fragile white egos or something along those lines. See, like it just fits perfectly into the narrative. So they serve all of their causes all at once.
Neil, our good friend Neil, sends $5, and thank you, Neil. What you sent me yesterday was what I needed. I just got to get through that, and that should help with that because I talked to him behind the scenes about a few things. He sends a super chat, says if Brie Larson held to her words, she would have stepped down and allowed Monica Rambeau, and that's what Mecca and all the rest of them were saying. The OG Captain Marvel and take over. Awesome character and is black. Yeah, that's one thing that I think Mecca and Rob and everybody else kind of pointed out early on is like, wait a minute. Like, y'all are trying to be woke and shit, but you're not even really holding to your own standards. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I would love to see a Monica Rambeau story, whether it's a TV series or a film. I managed to peruse some of her comics not too long ago, and she seemed like a pretty cool character. So, and we haven't really seen something like her on the big screen before. So why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Sure, why not? And the one thing I want to add with that as well is that that's one of the things that actually annoyed me the most of Captain Marvel, the movie, that we were told in advance that the friendship between Captain Marvel and the mother of Monica Rambeau was so amazing. It showed that no woman needs a man; she just needs like your girlfriend. Doesn't
A
even have to
token
be
black friend, you mean?
yeah,
sorry.
exactly. Or like a
There is an
woman friend.
accessory.
That was a much, much better thing than a man.
That's
or
what I
anything like
love
that.
about the Marvel universe is I know I rarely say much bad about it besides Captain Marvel is they love that this mentality of the speaking of Joss Whedon and the way he acted, this how they act so woke when look at this. Outside of Black Panther, every single black character you've had in your movies have been fucking ancillary secondary characters.
Tokens.
Yep.
Accessories.
Best friends.
Yeah. But anyway, to get back to that then, and when I saw that friendship on screen, I have never ever been less convinced by any on-screen friendship than that. Those two actors had zero chemistry together. Zero. They very much looked like two complete strangers that had awkwardly met on the bus stop and were just like thrown in the same situation and just couldn't wait to get out of it.
Oh, I'll give you one step further. The kid offered more to Brie Larson for her role than what she got back when in their scenes. Like the kid was trying to do something to get a reaction out of Brie Larson, and just no edit showed anything that was being received. It was basically one-sided because the kid, I adored the kid.
Yeah, the kid was good.
Yeah.
The parents that sucked.
Yeah, that rarely happens.
The only thing I didn't like with the kid was basically like the kid asked the mother, "Is it going to be dangerous? Is there a chance you won't be coming back?" Yeah. You go do that, Mom.
Oh,
Go
you're talking
take
about The Room?
risks. Take risks. So
you're
I'll
talking
be
about
an orphan. Do that. Take risks. Jesus. The biggest problem with Captain America, the movie, wasn't Brie Larson. She was the second biggest problem. The biggest problem was the writers and directors.
Oh, I was confused which one you were talking about now. Because the kids are always seeming to save her career.
Yeah, like a Kid in Room. Really good actor.
That's what I thought you guys were talking about for a minute there. That's where I was like,
oh,
wait, are we talking about The Room or are we talking about Captain Marvel now?
About the little
Marvel.
kid from Captain Marvel. She was actually pretty good, but then you also have this other issue where you have two directors and a poorly written script. And I'm like, my theory of this film is that one director was focused only on Brie Larson, and then the other director was on everybody else, because everybody else at least gave something of an actual performance. And Brie Larson just did not seem like her performance fit with the rest of that movie.
Well, actually, I'll go one further. And I'll say I think you're wrong, Andre. I think she had more to do with what's wrong with this movie than you think. And it's because of what Script just said. She Tom Cruise this motherfucker. She came in acting like she had a big dick because she was making $5 million. And since she was the star, she got her way. She probably had, her writer in there doing things for her against the wishes and wills of the other writers and director and all that kind of shit. And I think that she kind of pooched this whole thing. Now, the writing was probably shit to start with. That didn't help. Because let's face it, the whole Samuel Jackson part and everything else is just completely botched.
Driving Miss Marvel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know
why? Did you know why the mom sucked? It's because it's Lashana Lynch. That woman has no personality or charisma. Every time you see her on the red carpet, this is the one who's supposed to be female James Bond, by the way, right? And hopefully Rob will get in here to rail on this one some more. But yeah, Lashana Lynch every time you see Lashana Lynch in any picture, any red carpet, anything, she has this look on her face like she doesn't want to be there. Like she's working the grill at McDonald's only because the guy on the fryer sells her weed. That 1,000-yard stare, mouth hanging open. It's like, you're an entertainer, you're a movie star. If you're on the red carpet let's say, getting your picture taken. Maybe smile, be excited, be appreciative of the fucking opportunity you have for being a movie star in expensive clothes, with expensive jewelry, with an expensive salary, big fat paycheck, right? All this attention, fame. Maybe look like you want to be there. And that's my biggest problem with this woman. And Lashana Lynch is just so uncharismatic. And then they put Brie Larson next to her. Like, okay, you're what are you trying to do? Open up a black hole or something? I mean, it's like antimatter colliding, those two. It sticks out like a sore thumb in the movie too, where, yeah, okay, are they?
Well, it's very forced, yeah.
Yeah, they kept playing them up like, and they were even hinting that they were supposed to be girlfriends or whatever. That, you know, oh, you could have your gay character in this one because Captain Marvel's gonna be, oh, you could just assume she's gay. Are they gay? Who cares, right? They don't even look like they like each other or know each other. They look like they're bitchy coworkers at best.
My point exactly. No chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get a couple super chats here. Culture Casino sent $2. Said Andre, the silent majority sees rise of brown shirts.
I hope so. Just to get back to that really briefly, because I don't want to be political, but seriously, people, those in the States, you have to wake up. You are right now in Germany, 1938.
Mm-hmm.
And you seriously have to wake up. And to those of you that already see what's going on, I congratulate you, but everyone has to see it. You are in the middle of a totalitarian takeover. And this one is, if anything, even more scary than the one that was in Germany in 1938, just because of how complete this one is, with nearly all the media, all the algorithms, everything favoring the takeover, which is
and no single leader. That's the other part that's scary.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. You know what's scary for me on the outside? I just have just on a tangent here. America is what protects the world's freedom. If America loses its freedom, that's the freedom. That's the rest of the Western civilization collapsed. America is the leader of the free world. If America falls, there is no more free world. It's that simple. So you have to stand up against these modern brown shirts. And the horrible thing is that they're using these insidious mental tricks where they're proclaiming to be good and virtuous and all of these nice things, but really what they're talking about is ending your freedom and the system that has allowed America and Western civilization to become what it is. The freest and most equal society in the world. There's no other society that is more inclusive, less racist than America. And it's portrayed as something that it just isn't.
Oh, yeah, we have that. Go ahead.
Anyone that thinks that America is so horribly brutal race, dude, take a plane anywhere else.
Like, yeah, and this is what we talked about last night on the Friday Night Tights and stuff, and I said the same thing. I'm like, I don't get this. I mean, I get it that there may be a ratio as far as like the cops go, but I'd be the first one to say that we need to reset the whole system. I don't think there's any, and this kind of all spawned from the whole, you can't have Superman saying for truth, justice, and the American way. I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? If the people that were actually hired to do their jobs followed the rules, enacted them, and actually protected the rights like they're supposed to of the people, then America would work just fine. It's set up to work fine. The problem is the people are corrupt. Yep. So what you have here is, and this goes off of what Andre is saying, all the people that are virtue signaling, acting like they're friends in this and allies in this movement, are the same motherfuckers who were in charge who weren't doing their jobs in the first place.
They're the biggest problem here.
Exactly.
They're the single biggest problems. They are what the French called collaborators.
Yes, and what they're doing with the media is convincing the world that we are the racist, most bigoted, sexist culture there's ever been, when it's, like Andre said, the farthest from the truth. And I'm thinking even
control techniques to do it. And hear me out on this. And I'm going to go a little woo on you, but this is absolutely what they're doing. Look at everything, every piece of our entertainment. Look at every little piece that they're using. What do? They bring you in with something that you're attached to. Then they rip your heart out with it. And the weak people are easily manipulated. And then other people just fight back and say, And this is why, look at Star Wars, Star Trek. Look at The Last of Us 2. Look at what they do with that. They make you murder these characters that you're attached to pull at your heartstrings so they can break you, so you're easily tricked into being followers. Because if you are at a low point in your life, you can come in and look for a leader, look for somebody who's coming in and saying, yes, we're going to protect you. And that is one of the scariest things that they do. And I see it all the freaking time. They're doing it, and that's where it's coming in with the freaking media too. What the other shit that they're doing is they are allowing prejudice against a certain type, and that is more scary than anything, because my family came from Germany and they had to hide their last name to not sound Jewish. That is what is scary to me, is that I'm seeing the exact same thing that happened with the Jews happening here, only it's people who look like me, and I don't like that.
Well,
It's turning the table.
Persecution disguised through compassion, and anyone who actually understands compassion should be able to see right through it.
Mhm.
And on top of that, they're using the tactics of the media to further their message, and it's like scary because they're doing it so well. And yeah, I have to agree. Like I've had the fortune of being able to travel to many countries around the world, and I'll have to say that, like, the United States is definitely the most accepting and welcoming one that I've been to, short of my own. But like, again, it's Canada and the United States are relatively similar in many
They're
regards.
the most welcoming countries on the face of this earth, and all of the things that the people preach about wanting inclusivity and everything, you will find nowhere more inclusive on the face of this earth. And it's the system that has created that they want to destroy, and basically bring in everything that's never worked before anywhere, but has only destroyed the societies the similar ideologies have been attempted in. And it's scary to look at, because I know that America falls, the whole Western civilization falls.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to finish my point, like Mecca was saying, I believe it's the media on top of these politicians who are pushing this agenda and this ideology that things are as bad as they are when they're not. And then you add in, because I can't believe this, and I have to believe that the cream will always rise to the top, no matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what sex you are. Because if this was the case, then, you know, women would never be performers of any kind. You know, Bill Cosby and Eddie Murphy wouldn't have been the two biggest stars of the 80s. Will Smith and Whitney Houston wouldn't have been the two biggest stars of the 90s, and so on. Michael Jordan and all these other people would have never been allowed to play baseball or basketball. And, you know, and in fact, and the funny, you know, that's what the funny thing about, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox in a second here, but it's so funny that a lot of this shit started in the NFL when sports was one of the few places where civil rights kind of creeped in first, right, Rob? Welcome to the show.
Those motherfuckers are so high.
Oh, with baseball, yeah.
Those motherfuckers make. I mean, they bitch about all of this shit. I'm like,
well,
dude,
that's not even my point.
Fucking millionaire.
That's not even my point, Mecca. As I was sending it to Rob, because he'll know what I'm saying here, is sports was one of the first places where boundaries were broken and lines were crossed, right?
Sports was one of the first areas of society, at least in America, that was really integrated.
And it's funny that this whole thing started there. But anyway, I mean, it didn't really technically start there, but with the whole Kaepernick thing. Willie Woodward sent $5, says, I'm glad I started making videos before she came on the scene. I would have been so discouraged from starting. What's the point? I get where Willie's coming from, and I've seen a lot of smaller YouTubers with the same kind of feelings about it. It's like, why should we even try when we could go for years and years and years and never get anywhere, when all Bree's got to do is just pop on, and here she is. She's got a YouTube channel and million views and blah, 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 blah. I know she hasn't got a million views yet, but it will be by the end of the day.
Well, they're suppressing the U of YouTube. That's what they're doing.
Exactly. Well, and that brought us back around to the whole point we were making before, too. Yeah. So, Jedi Master Zetopia sent $5. Sticker on Quibi. I prefer when YouTube ruins my time organically, not because they pay her to do it. Very well said, sir. Assuming you're a sir. I don't want to assume your gender, of course. Stone Gassman, thanks again for another super chat, says with $5. Now following Script Doctor and Mecha42 on Twitter. Happy July 4th, guys. Thank you so much, Stone, and glad to hear you find some more people to follow on Twitter. And definitely check out all the YouTube channels of the people we have on here. We wouldn't have them on if we didn't watch them ourselves. So there you go. And I see Anthony's in the chat. Check out his channel as well, Dark Gift Comics. I got your book, Anthony, and it's really cool. I love the Jason art in it. It was really cool. The Freddy one was pretty cool too, and some of the other stuff. So I'm sure I'll talk about that one of these. We got a plan to do, Andre, our mailbag show one of these days soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I got to dig out all the mail stuff that I moved, because we did get enough stuff now, I think, to justify doing at least a good hour show about it. Maybe not an hour, but let me see the next super chat. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats. Let me double check here because they're bouncing through pretty quick. We got the Culture Casino. We got Willie. I missed one from Culture Casino. Bree is sponsored by Taco Bell. Drop the taco. No, I don't think so, but I'm surprised they haven't gone for her yet.
How long before we start seeing product placement in our videos?
Well, think about the time they had to work on this, because they had a lot of guest spots on there. So take, number one day just for her to talk to them, and then how many days or weeks it would have taken to arrange for those people to be able to have time to speak with Bree. So this has been in the works for at least a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's probably been in the works for 6 months, and then
a couple months.
They probably spent the last month filming the first 10 videos, I should imagine.
Yeah, because every YouTuber spends a good 6 weeks filming their first video. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she, like Andre said, she's probably got a lot of them already in the bag. They're just going to start dropping here periodically.
Of course.
Might be all just interviews with big YouTube celebs.
Right. Go ahead and handle this one, Rob, and I'll let Andre answer it.
Lars Hansen, 20 Danish kroner. Do you have a plan B if you get thrown off of YouTube?
We have to get on BitChute, don't we?
Well, I don't know about that, but we got to get our website built first. I mean,
yeah, we have to get a website.
I worry more about that first.
Yeah, and we have the early stages of a plan B, but as you hear, we do not have a full plan B, so we have to be a little bit careful. We have to be a little bit careful with expressing our views too much outside the realm of the entertainment, because the algorithm really doesn't like that. It really doesn't like us telling people to recognize what's going on.
I would say this: the stuff we cover on the main channel, I wouldn't worry too much about. We're not controversial enough, I would say, to get on the radar of some of the areas to where I think we'd have to worry too much. But that doesn't say never, because we got pulled down midstream talking about Captain Marvel.
We did.
So I think as long as we kind of stick over here on Midnight's Edge After Dark talking about the little bit more controversial things and kind of stick to what we do over on the main channel, I think we're fine. And I think Andre's original instinct of just sticking with YouTube for now, since we are a YouTube channel until we get the website built and all that stuff, I think that's kind of the best route. It's less confusing, less chaotic, and it's just so difficult for us to kind of keep up with everything. And then a lot of areas you can't monetize them or keep track of how it's doing. So for now, until this goes away, I'd say that's the way I see it anyway.
Also, I would say that's a problem, is that there really is no alternative to YouTube right now. This is like the kind of like, because we have other places where we could just talk, but where we basically could continue what we do, because let's just say that these videos, they do not make themselves, and the production value and all the time we put into it, we have to be able to basically have enough income to keep the lights on. And there's not too many other platforms out there that would allow us to do that right now. I saw Anibal Morales Sanchez said in the comments, go to Pornhub. Honestly, that's not the worst idea I've heard.
But I've heard they've been kicking people off who've been doing shit on Pornhub, and they're not doing porn.
Oh, Yeah, I wouldn't want to know that
Off of
personally.
it.
What was that, Becca?
Fed got kicked off of it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there was a couple of people I've heard about that happening too.
Well,
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I had read about a year and a half ago that there was that Amazon was supposedly working on an alternative to
They kind of do. I don't know if we've looked more into it because I know like Angry Video Game Nerds on there and a few other people from YouTube are on there. But I'm not sure how the monetization system works, so that's something we have to look into. But yeah, through Amazon Prime, you can watch certain YouTubers on there, and he actually drops his videos like 2 or 3 days early on there.
Yeah. Well, okay. Casparius, $5.
Well, my thing with this, my answer to you, Andre or Rob, would be if you're looking for a specific YouTuber, just look for their video on Amazon Prime. If it pops up, they're on there. So otherwise, we need to look into it. So.
Yeah. Casparius, once America $5. Once America falls, China and Russia can go fully on the move unhindered, more so than what they're currently doing. Yeah, that's I don't want to get too much into politics, otherwise I could be here all day.
The one that you have to worry, I don't want to go too far into it, but I will say that basically you have, just speaking purely from the world of finance, the people that fund your politicians. The one issue that I have with American politics is basically this thing with donations, that you are encouraged to take donations. You cannot even get nominated unless you get enough donations. Everywhere else, donations equals corruption, and they're not allowed. Whereas here, they're encouraged. That's a huge problem. And the people, and I know this, you don't know too much about who's donating to your political parties, but most of them, those that donate the big bucks, they don't do so from the goodness of their hearts.
Oh, no.
And many of those donors, and these are the same donors that own your media. They want to see America fail. They want,
and they donate to both
China
sides
to take over. So this is a plan that they want China to take over. Well, China is going to take over instantly when and this is not an accident. This is the plan. So this is basically what we have to do is stop that plan.
Well, it's not just corporations in the media, in the media corp, the big media. Yeah, blah. It's not just the big media giants. It's people like the Kochs and the Mercers and the Wins and Sheldon Adelson.
The 1% of the 1%. Yeah,
yeah. They want to roll back certain environmental concerns, and the Kochs have had a plan for years to roll America back, then deconstruct the administrative state. So the only thing where the government does is the courts, the military, and that's it. And they have this libertarian dream as if it's still 1803, and we're all illiterate dirt farmers. I'm like, it doesn't work that way anymore, guys. And so they've been, because what's easier for someone like David Koch to spend $50 million cleaning up his land and to have the EPA come in and inspect it and making sure everything's clean, or just to pay off a politician and say, "Here, go get elected and then repeal these laws for me."
Well, that's pretty much how it works. But on a bigger scheme of things, about your super chat, yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's scary, and it's regrettable that it does not get enough attention. And when it does, it's dismissed as conspiracy theory. But my professional background is in the world of finance. And I know who these people are. I don't know them personally, but they are very well-known figures in the world of finance, and so are their goals and their means of achieving them. And it's a tragedy that they are then able to prevent the news from properly talking about what's going on.
Yeah, so, yeah. I'm looking at Amazon Prime right now. Angry Video Game Nerd is on there. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Yeah, so there's a few people on there.
By episodes, it's 99 HD.
Well, you don't have Prime, that's why, don't you?
No, yeah, I know. No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, you have to have Prime. That's the catch. But I think you get paid that way. That's why I said that might be one of the alternatives we will look into, probably. Willie Woodward sent $5. Your response to my chat is spurring an idea. I think I got a plan. I can see the smoke from here, Willie.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, I know I'm late. It was Dark Gift Comics presents. I mentioned before they're getting rid of civil rights laws and returning segregation in California, Oregon.
Yeah.
I think Chaz was a social experiment to see if people would accept it and go along with it. Chaz is a bunch of goofy kids. Chaz, I mean, that's I don't. Come on, they're
dumbasses who can't even fucking grow a plant without planting it on top of a fucking inch of dirt on top of cardboard. Dumbasses.
Yeah.
They grew dandelions. That's what they grew.
Beavis and Butthead did a better job growing corn.
I can't wait to see Mike Judge's take on the Chaz.
That's going to be hilarious. The funny thing with the Chaz is that when they took over, the first thing they did was that they were going to do this like socialist utopia. And the first thing they did was they set up a border wall like Trump.
Yeah.
And then they sent the police
out.
We
said all this stuff, yeah.
And they launched their own police force, which was 10 times as violent as the police force that they wanted to get rid of in the first place. And then they started shooting up black kids. So yeah, perfect. Good going, guys.
McKinney 90 sent $2, Rob.
Yes, happy 4th, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah. Lars Hansen, 20 Danish kroners. Are we looking at civil war in the U.S. after November 3rd? No, I don't think there's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a civil war. But let's just say, okay, listen, I don't like talking politics on this channel. Okay, but if Trump loses, let's just say for the purpose of discussion, if Trump loses, he will not go away. He will just not fade into the background. Okay. And his followers will not take it very well.
He'll just hit the campaign trail again. That's what he'll do.
Yeah, he'll scream and cry voter fraud. He'll try to, he'll probably try to sue, and he's already making the case for voter fraud and invalidating the election. Unless he loses by such an enormous amount, like say like a 400 electoral vote landslide.
I think he's gonna win by a landslide. Just because I think he will, because I think a lot of people on the left have had it with the craziness, with the temper tantrum, and I think a lot of people are like, you know what, fuck this, we don't want to deal with these crazy people.
Yeah, but that's not enough to get them to vote for Trump. I mean, well,
no, they just will stay home. They'll just be like, screw these guys.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, looking at it from both sides, you have. And I think TDS is real on both sides. Don't get me wrong. And I'm more of a centrist than probably anybody on here, and I don't get into politics either too much like Rob. But I will say this: I think you have one side that sees that, and this is coming from both sides. You have former supporters of Trump who are seeing that, things aren't exactly as great as they thought they were going to be, and they're blaming him for some of the shit that's going on. And some of it, he probably could have prevented it. Other parts of it, there's nothing he can do. And then you have the other side, like Mecca's talking about, where they're starting to see all the fucking bullshit from the left. They're kind of like, there's some like me that are just fucking embarrassed to even say they ever voted Democrat before because of the way things are going. No, I'm not sitting here saying, I'm going to vote Trump in the fall. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here, though, is that you have a lot of people right now who see this, and they see that the media is like, there's nothing this guy can do without them just totally fucking piling on him.
He can say he's for oxygen, and they will be against.
Yeah. So I mean, I see both sides of it now, and I do see the TDS on both sides as well. You have one group of people who there's nothing he can do wrong. He's their savior. He's the new Jesus. He's the second coming, whatever. And you have the other side where he can't, like Andre said, he can't even say I'm for oxygen without in 10 different.
Someone saying, well, what about nitrogen?
Yeah. So exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, so
what about carbon dioxide? That's good too.
And unfortunately, go ahead, Rob.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, unfortunately, you have a lot of the media who happen to be in the one region, and that's where they fall. And the same thing with people in Hollywood. And so it's kind of I want to believe that we're living in a situation where not the rest of the world is as crazy as most of the people that we see on TV and shit, and in the media and stuff.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, here's the thing I have to remember. Okay, first of all, I always say to the people on the left, okay, listen, all right, making sure there's a black, you tearing down this statue doesn't solve the problem of, okay, you're out of work, you don't have enough to eat, you have crippling medical debt, you know, you have the COVID-19, you have the beer bug, whatever. It doesn't solve any of those problems. Okay, it doesn't. And being pissed off about the quote unquote libtards, and you vote for Trump doesn't solve any of those problems either. So it's a zero-sum gain here, okay?
Right, because it goes back to what I said before. This whole movement, the riots, the everything, it's not changing anything.
No.
Yeah.
Unless you tear...
exposing people, but it's not changing.
Yeah, it's not really... The same people are still in power. The same people are still rich. That's not, nothing is going to change unless there's... And then the type of change they're talking is crazy. Like they're talking about overcorrecting to the point of just
segregation
and just mass genocide almost.
You know what happens in the meantime? What happens in the meantime that you may not see because you're in the middle of it is that the social glue that binds society together is crumbling.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Mecca, remember what Carlin said?
America becomes a house divided.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was an American president that said that a house divided cannot stand. And then we are right back to where the super chat from a little while ago. This is how then America loses its position in the world, because then the problem becomes inward, crumbles from within. And the moment that happens is when someone else suddenly can go and take over the position around the world. And the entire Western civilization loses on that. That is what has happened the last 3-4 months. This is not just America, but the entire Western civilization has weakened, whereas China has been strengthened immensely in the same period. This is something insidious that's been happening that no one has that has seen. Now, when the economy has crumbled, many Chinese, not just Chinese, but also many other nationalities have bought up huge properties around the world as prices have collapsed a little bit. So there's, in the financial sector that I see, there's been a mass shift the last 3 months, and not in a good way. For everyone that values freedom of speech, and inclusion, and all of those good things that they claim to be fighting for, all of those things stand to lose the way that things are right now, and if it continues down this path.
Well, remember what George Carlin said about the whole system starting to collapse? And that was back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The whole social structure is starting to collapse. You watch. And he was right. I mean, and Abraham Lincoln famously said, America will not be conquered from by an invading
from outside, but from within. Yeah,
from within. But the whole, like I said, the whole thing is at some point we have to realize, hey, you know what? The goofy shit doesn't solve anything. Okay, being pissed off because Star Wars is messed up, and then you go and vote for the most extreme candidate you can find. I'm not saying Trump. I'm not saying anybody else. Okay. But having that be the deciding factor in your vote doesn't solve anything. Okay.
I think nobody should go. I think nobody should vote, period. I think we should make a stand by just nobody voting.
That'll never happen, though.
I know that's the problem. I know.
Well, the problem with that is there is no power in abstention, because the people who want to win will make sure enough of their guys do.
I know. It's an unwinnable scenario. But
that's how you get it. Someone like Ted Cruz as president.
The problem is you have all these people who are talking about resetting the system and restarting and restructuring. They're talking about other people. They're not talking about themselves. That's the thing that bothers me. It's like, no, motherfucker, you want to start making change? Quit. First thing you all want to do, all you senators, all you congressmen, the president, down the fucking line to the top to the bottom. You want to change something? Quit. Serious. Sooner or later, the cream's going to rise to the top. The person who really is meant for the job will show up. But the problem is we have such a corrupt system right now that those people that are in power are never going away. They've dug their talons in so fucking far that it's done. It's over with on that part. I got to get to this super chat here. Nelson Sharita says, with $5. Indiegogo over Patreon. Facebook replaced MySpace. When there is enough demand and enough money, a replacement for YouTube will arrive. Supply and demand. Oh yeah, something's going to come, but we're still at least a good 5, 6, 7 years away. I'm not sure if
you never know. It could happen overnight. I mean,
it could
Elon Musk might want to make his own version.
Well, Quibi just shows me that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Andre.
No, sorry. I just want to say, if Elon Musk's make it, I will be there in a moment.
But I think Quibi was a proof that you're going to have something unique to bring to the table that's not just a gimmick. YouTube was a genius plan, but it's much like the system we're in America. It's eating itself from the inside out. So something's going to eventually give. Don't get me wrong. I totally get where you're coming from, and I'm sure we'll try to find a way to be prepared when that happens. But I mean, for now, I think YouTube's too big to fail in that sense. But it's things like Bree scare the piss out of me.
Yeah, but I just want this is a guy here late. You know, I actually every 4th of July I actually do sail on the on a replica of the Santa Maria across the Atlantic. So that's why.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, just kidding. But anyway, I have a one-man recreation of the Battle of Lexington. So, but anyway, here's the thing about Brie Larson. Like as you've all said, it is phony. It is this contrived thing to have her prove that she is one of us. Look, I'm just like you guys. And she wants
she's better than.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's also to seize control of the narrative too. She gets her videos out there. She tries to get more eyeballs than everybody else, so she controls what direction the conversation is going. So that way, how dare you criticize Captain Marvel? She gets to say her shit about she gets to speak her piece about Captain Marvel 2 before we can, because she's the almighty Brie. Ooh, Brie, miss her shit don't stink.
Oh, this isn't going to last long. She's going to make a month's worth of videos and quit. No, I'm kidding. William, but it probably will happen that way. William,
they're already made. They just have to edit them for her.
Yeah, we said that too.
There as long as her employer wants her to be there, because again, she's not there of her own good.
You mean her publicist?
Yeah,
no, I mean her employer. Someone
Google,
has hired
YouTube or somebody
for that job. I don't know if it's YouTube. I don't know if it's someone higher up, but she is there on demand. Someone has paid her. She's doing a paid for job.
Yeah, we went through that like a half hour before you got here, Rob.
Look for the product placement. Whatever product placement, whatever turns up, I don't care if it's Apple, Nissan, or whatever. Whatever product placement shows up, that's who hired her. If she suddenly has a MacBook Pro, this is my brand new MacBook Pro, and I'm making my videos. Okay, we know who's paying the bills now.
Well, that's even deceiving, because that doesn't mean that. That just means they got a sponsorship from there. That doesn't mean that's the person who's originally footing the bill or whose idea it was.
It's probably just Disney.
It could be somebody who's the head of YouTube, for all we know. But anyway, William Silva sends $5. I would say calm down a little bit. A lot of things going on to optically designed to discourage anti-left voters, and I think they messed up. I mean, Gary said this, and it was really kind of poignant, and this just goes no matter which way you look at it. Look outside your window. Chances are 90 to 99% of you in the chat right now, there's nothing going on but maybe somebody's 4th of July celebration.
Yeah.
Most of the world is pretty much normal outside of the pandemic business and stuff. The bigger cities and the areas where a lot of this shit is going on, there's a lot that can be said for that. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go into it. A lot of it's because certain people aren't doing their jobs. A lot of it's because they're politically motivated to allow this shit to happen, and so on and so forth. Like, again, don't want to get into that rabbit hole, but
as Jon Stewart once said, the majority of Americans are reasonable people, level-headed people. They're not the ones out there marching, and they're not the ones putting tape on their mouth, saying silenced or whatever. They're not the ones, volunteering to be human shield. They're not the ones to chat, because we have shit to do.
Lives to live, yeah.
Exactly.
And these ones on Twitter, I think they're marketing accounts. I think a lot of them are, because they were saying the same three things when I was getting all those attacks with that Mike Henry tweet. One of them was a racist attack. The other one was, please respect his decision. And the other one was like threats and shit, or telling me that I said he was a dog, or that I compared people to dogs or something.
Oh, you had a lot of stuff.
That's what it was.
I just wanted to say this last thing. Just remember, the largest voting bloc in the United States is not conservative or liberal. It's non-voters.
Yep, that's very true. And I mean, and just to kind of put the pin in the where, and this is kind of poignant to what I'm saying. I got an argument with somebody about the whole John Wayne thing. And the way this person was going off about it was like, you would think that John Wayne, day in, day out, from the moment he woke up to the moment he went to bed, and probably even in his sleep, every breath was something racist. And it's like, do you really feel like in your heart of hearts, that's the type of person John Wayne was? Like, he literally was just so fucking racist that nothing out of his mouth or anything he did, everything that informed every movement he made was racist. It's like, it's hard to believe. And I said, and to sit there and concentrate on taking somebody's name off of a fucking building just because of something they said in a fucking interview from the 1960s, without getting down that whole fucking rabbit hole, is a little disingenuous. Because look, you're trying to fucking, fix a pinhole right now when there's a gusher over here. You're concentrating on shit that really doesn't fucking matter in the grand scheme of things right now.
Yes. Thank you.
Like, it is the
didn't John Wayne leave his wife for a Mexican woman?
I was gonna say he married 2 Mexican women from what I remembered, and that's not even the point. The point is John Wayne should be the last of yours. John Wayne's fucking dead for 40 fucking years. Okay? He didn't fight in the Civil War. He didn't, as far as I know, he never did anything to anybody. And if anything, like I brought up in the whole point of, from the era he came from the time that interview was brought up and the civil rights movement was on the horizon and all that kind of shit, a lot of the stuff he said was controversial, yes, but at the same time, if you look at it in the light of the period, it was kind of progressive for somebody in his boots. And he actually talks about hiring black people and stuff. So I was like, I don't even want to hear this shit. Everything you're saying is kind of moot, and you're making a mountain out of a molehill when the bigger problem is over here, and that's kind of a metaphor for this entire thing. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to make this huge deal out of something that's not there. Now, I'm not trying to say that because I'm a white guy, I can't say that, I've dealt with, no, I know. I can't say from anybody's point of view who is not the same skin color as me that there is not racism out there. I guarantee you there is, but it is not on the level that the media is making you believe. And that's why I said before that, or Little Richard and Chuck Berry would have never been able to invent rock and roll, folks. Let's just put it that way. And that was in the 1950s. If this society was so fucking racist, then right now we would be talking about the white guys who invented rock and roll. But that didn't happen. I mean, if anybody disagrees with me, please chime in right now. But that's the end of my rant.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that it opens up an even greater can of worms where you basically cancel everyone and everything, since nothing will live up to the standards which have been engineered that they cannot be lived up to other than by the most extreme of extremists. So basically, then you have to cancel the entire history and everything that binds a society together.
That's right. And Anthony from Dark Cave Comics sends us another $5. Thank you so much, sir. You don't have to do that. The people at Chaz were goofy. They're the ones who allowed it used it as a social experiment to see if they would implement these regressive ideas. Oh yeah, I mean, they were encouraged for sure by certain points of the media and politicians. And again, that just goes back to what we were saying. This whole entire thing to me feels so fucking manufactured. Even going back to the Floyd situation, because I brought that up the other day, not to get too controversial, was that shit happened. It was over a week old by the time the media picked up on it. To me, I feel like if it wasn't anything but more than a slow news day, we wouldn't be dealing with this shit right now. I don't know if you guys disagree with me or not, or if I'm, trivializing it too much or what, but I mean, I just feel like it's kind of the same thing with Naughty Dog. Had they just not said anything, had they just kept their fucking mouth shut and not done a damn thing, it would have passed through the normal news fucking cycle. And the next thing,
if it hadn't been that, it would have been something else.
Yeah.
Barbra Streisand effect. Yeah.
You think it's not necessarily?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is orchestrated.
That's what I'm getting more to. It feels like
it would have been something else. All of this is orchestrated. It would have been something else.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Mecca and Andre, to a point, and that's kind of what I was getting to. Is it feels like it was the media and the politicians needed something. They knew they were losing this battle. I mean, and it goes back to, sadly, things in entertainment. They seen it because fucking,
Look at who spoke out in entertainment. Ava DuVernay basically put out a tweet saying we're going to discriminate against white people in Hollywood now. John Boyega went out there with his megaphone, and of course, conveniently, the second that the PlayStation 5 dropped, he stopped tweeting about the whole movement, about the whole hashtag. All of these celebrities out there with their hashtags. This seemed exactly like the same type of crap that they did with COVID. You know, all their "I take responsibility." It was just Imagine all over again. It's like, who the crap are you trying to manipulate with this shit? Like, why do you have to do this? Keep your mouth shut.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I was talking to a friend of mine who happened to be black about this kind of a subject, and he brought up the fact that he feels, and this is his belief, again, I have to reiterate that because so nobody comes and attacks me for this. He feels like things were going so well for black people that the moment some people just started treating them normal, they felt like it was racism. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but it almost had to me. I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, look, the last 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, since the civil rights movement, things have gotten better. We've gotten to a point where, he was looking at it this way. He goes, how many white men do you think would walk up to me on the street and go, hey, N-word? I'm like, well, none. He's like, right, because they know they get their ass kicked, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, we've gotten so used to white people bowing down to us for the last 20, 30 years that the moment people started just kind of acting normal, we took offense to it. And he reiterated, of course, it wasn't even us, really. It was the white Karens, he said.
Well, and they're the problem with the rest of it, too. These white fucking Karens coming in, because they're doing it with women, too. They were doing it like women were treated equally. We had equal pay. We had equal respect, until all of a sudden now they want to be repressed again or oppressed again. They want to complain. They're like, oh, calling me a Karen is just as bad as the N-word. Like, no, it's not. Shut your mouth.
No, and he basically was saying, was like, outside of a few instances where he's dealt with cops and maybe a few times where he's gone into a store and felt like, the clerk was watching him just a little too much or something. He's like, outside of those kind of things, and where people have, maybe said something that they didn't realize was racist. He's like, I've not experienced the type of racism that my forefathers have.
No.
He's like, I've heard stories from my parents and my grandparents that would make, you puke if I told them to you right now. And I can't believe it was a very eye-opening, talk about being woke. It was a very eye-opening conversation with him, because I don't generally get into these kind of topics unless they're brought up by the other person, because I don't talk about this. I hate seeing somebody
spot, right?
I treat people like people.
Yeah.
I hate going up and going, hey, since you're black, what does this hot dog taste like to you compared to me? It's like, that is the dumbest fucking question in the world. And I've actually seen this on YouTube, where you'll have a couple black people on a show or something, and you'll have a bunch of people in the chat asking them stupid questions from a black point of view. It's like, why would it be any different for them just because they're black? Now, if you want to get into like a cultural thing that's actually poignant, maybe, but just asking them stupid, silly questions like that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? And we get too much of that nowadays. And I see a lot of that kind of crap. It's like, okay, I get it. You're obsessed with what it's like to be black, but you're never going to be. Just deal with it. It's the same thing. Like, I get it. You're obsessed with being a woman. You can only go so far, but you're never going to be. Same thing goes for if you're a woman and trying to be a man. I get it. You can do that all you want. It's just like I seen this 23andMe fucking thing. You know what they're doing now? Yeah, did you see that, Mecca?
Yeah, how can my friend be? Can you have more inclusive language for her DNA test because she's transgendered and her DNA says she's male? Yeah. No, motherfucker, it's your DNA.
Science doesn't care about your fucking feelings. And I don't want to go down. And I know I've got plenty of friends that I've talked to about this shit. I'm trying to keep it within certain boundaries. But anyway, Mad Mardigan sent $5. Happy 4th to everyone. Remember to dump tea in your nearby bodies of water. Extra space. Don't want to waste it. Well, thank you so much for not wasting the extra space. We appreciate that. Andre, do you have anything to say from an outside kind of a point of view? And then Dark Gift says no more politics, he promises. And that's fine. We've gotten really politic heavy here, unfortunately, but that's all right.
I'm sure we can do that on After Dark once in a blue moon, especially when the audience seem to respond to it, as long as we don't make it a habit of it. I don't really have too much to add to that. Only thing that I will say is that, again, I come from a world of finance. The rocket growth that America has had financially the last 3 years, basically from the 2016, actually from 2017, when the measure started first begun, up until the pandemic hit, are almost unparalleled in history. I mean, like, no world leader's going to say it, but they were all secretly impressed with, holy shit, what's going on with these job numbers? Yeah, I know that many people didn't get that much better and everything, but I'm talking about as a whole country scale, America skyrocketed in the last 3 years. And then, of course, came this whole thing, pandemic, and that's part of the reason why I think that this is, or actually, I don't think, I know that this is organized, because many very important bankers and everything that has a lot riding on China taking over were very unhappy with America's rocket rise, because that threatened to basically change their plans. They might lose their investments. America was just doing too good, so that kind of like had to be stopped a little bit. And as going back to like this whole Floyd thing, if it hadn't been that, it would have been something else. They were looking for something to start and instigate things.
Right.
It happened to be that. If it hadn't been that, it would have been something else. But it would have been something.
And the conversation. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were doing.
Yeah, sorry. And as for what your friend said, that's I don't know, but what I will say is that black people that are unhappy with the treatment in America, I don't know anything about that. What I can say is that it's not going to be any better anywhere else. It's going to be worse.
Right, and that's kind of where he was coming from. Yeah. Well, no, go ahead, finish, Chandra. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say.
Well, no, because what sparked the conversation was the whole Terry Crews business, where Terry Crews said you got to be, and he got a lot of shit for this. Obviously, I don't know if you heard about this, Andre, but he said we got to be careful that BLM doesn't turn into only Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, he made another tweet this morning too, kind of reinforcing that. So yeah, if you want to look that one up, something about if you're gonna go out on a hill, I'm gonna make this my hill.
Yeah, well, and
he was promoting that he loves all people. It doesn't matter about their skin color. But here's the other thing to consider. So regardless of what happens with the U.S. election come November 3rd, the opposite side that doesn't win is going to double down.
Oh yeah, that always happens. Yeah,
it's just going to happen. So like the crazy left people, they're not going to go away. They're going to refortify, and then whatever you have, the crazies on the right, they're going to do their thing if they lose. It's not going to balance out until we get proper leadership and proper inspirational leadership on the local level that can and just sort of slowly, again, like the cream rises to the top. It just it's going to take its time. It's going to be a tumultuous amount of years before things get into something that could be considered progressive and hopeful again, as when America and other Western companies were building up their middle class, and then allowing their citizens to elevate into a middle class and then out of poverty and so forth. It's not going to just be like a switch, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tom, do me a favor. Go up in the comments. There's one by Larry. Bankers like communism. Since I am something of a banker myself, allow me to address that. Ordinary bankers, the ones that you see in your bank, the ones that are on Wall Street and stuff like that, no, they don't like communism. You know who likes communism? The lenders behind them. The lenders that do not borrow money to you or to me or even to your local bank, but the lenders that lend money to governments, the lenders that own the central banks of most countries, the lenders that own the Federal Reserve, because your Federal Reserve is not governmental, it's privately owned. Those lenders, they like communism. They like for all of you to be workers, because what does communism actually mean? It actually means that I want to share with you, but you don't get to share with me.
Yep.
And this coming from a banker, those at the very, very highest top of the hierarchy, those that lend to governments, they want you to be poor. They want you to be a communist. They do. This is an absolute fact. This is no conspiracy. This is no Alex Jones talk. He may say it. And to that I say, sometimes a broken clock is always also correct, because that is absolute fact. Yeah, exactly. And this is something that regrettably is not in the news, because these lenders also have significant ownership stakes in the news, which is why you see such similar bias in the news, with the exception being those that have other owners. So I hope that answers that one question. I just think it's important that people know that those with the absolute most money, they want communism for everyone else. And don't ever think otherwise.
Well, the other thing too is, what we see now too is a lot of the major corporations, they want a lot of corporations, they want socialism, but only for corporations too. They want their risks, they want their losses covered by the government.
Yeah. But again, these are the people that own the corporations, they're bankers. They want capitalism because that's something that enables them to prosper. This is something that goes beyond corporations. Like these people, they will have some select corporate interest, and those companies. But really, their interests do not align with the interests of 95% of corporations that want capitalism, because that what enables them to grow. Whereas the lenders, they want everyone to be reliant on their money. With capitalism, then too many other people can make money as well, and they don't want people to be too prosperous.
Well, yeah, because they look at it as if other people are making money, that's money that they're not making.
Exactly.
Because they don't understand the concept that you can actually grow wealth, as opposed to just being a static amount of wealth that you have to trade off or exchange with other people. Like that's not how economics works. You create new things, it creates new money essentially. Yep. And it's done so naturally, as opposed to printing money, which is what communism eventually leads down to. Is you have to print money in order to make things balance out, but it never balances out because you can't redistribute wealth equally to anyone, because nobody is equal. That's the whole reason why it fails. It just doesn't work in any theory.
Remember the what was that line from was it not from Animal Farm? I think it might have been Animal Farm, but
it's Animal Farm. Animal Farm. So all animals are created equals, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. And again, this doesn't work at the corporate level, doesn't work at the country level, but at the very, very highest levels, that's how they want it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But back to Brie Larson.
Because Furious sends a $5 super chat.
Different.
But seriously, go watch
Shauna too.
Let me just say, go watch a guy named Jonathan Pye. He's a comedian named Tom Walker. He's from the UK. I know a lot of people don't like these comic like pundits, but at the same time, the guy makes a lot of really good points about voting and everything, and people. He goes, rather than getting in someone's face, just ask them, well, why do you feel that way? And just start a conversation with people. That's all, really. You start a conversation with people. Don't yell. He goes, one thing that we haven't learned is calling people stupid and racist and everything else, and sexist and evil, misogynist. That doesn't work. If someone says to you, this guy's well, why do you feel that way? Just talk to them. Put down your phones and talk to people. That's exactly what we need. We need to talk to people. Why do you feel that way? Oh, really? Why do you feel that way? Oh, well, I never thought of that before. Don't be condescending. Don't try to rub someone's nose in it if you're right. You know, and would it kill you to say, well, okay, well, you're right, you know? Most people don't think. Most people don't take that into account.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that damn oh, really? Why do you feel that way? Oh, really? Oh, really? Have you thought about this? It was as soon as you start saying, you know, I had a discussion with my brother. It says, well, he was talking about the student loves. I said, well, you know, you ever think about this, that we're doing this, and maybe we should be doing that? He's like, oh, well, yeah, you got a good point there, Rob. Finally, someone said it. You know, that's how you win people. You can win people to your position if you just treat them with just a slight modicum of respect. And you know, and like I said, and you take an interest in what they are saying. You don't have to try to completely annihilate the other side. Well, I'm against this. Or really, why are you against that? Let them talk, and then you can say, well, you know what? Maybe that's how you feel, but I feel this way. And again, you don't present yourself as if you're right. You just say, oh, okay, you know what? Well, all right, that's how you feel. This is how I feel. Without calling them names. Name calling doesn't work for anybody.
Well, like I've said before, the stupidest thing that fucking Paul Feig said was he called, you know, people who were against Ghostbusters Trump, you know, supporters or Trump lovers or whatever it was. It's like, that is the dumbest thing and I've seen people say it for many other things. It's like, that's the dumbest thing you could say to somebody, because you got two things that are going to happen there. One, they either are and they're going to go, yeah, so and fuck is it to you, snowflake? Or they're going to go, no, I'm not. And you just basically made an enemy out of somebody who could have been an ally, but instead you came at them like an asshat, you know. But no, that's the thing, is they're so blind to their fucking agendas that they don't give a fuck.
That actually wasn't Paul Feig. It was that other guy.
Well, I think he said it too, though, didn't he?
He agreed with it.
Experiment 626. Which side has been doing the name calling? Both sides have been doing the name calling. Both sides are doing the name calling.
Yeah, that term leftist and shit. Yeah.
You're a lefty, pinko, commie, liberal homo. Oh yeah,
libtard, etc., etc.
Just different names.
Homophobe. Both sides are doing it. It's not exclusive to one side. It's not.
Well, and that's why I said earlier, it's gotten to a point where it's on a fever pitch on both ends, and there's a bunch of, and the majority of the world is kind of, you know, either varying degrees into the middle, and it's like a lot of people are just seeing this craziness, and they're just going, you know what, I quit. I quit. I give up. I'm done. I'm not living in this world anymore. I'm going to sit inside just like they told me to until things get back to normal.
They'll be sitting inside for a long freaking time.
Yeah, too bad they didn't cut. They cut funding to NASA in the 70s. We would have had a colony on the moon right now. We could escape to.
Oh my God! Yeah, such a freaking waste and a tragedy. That was the biggest mistake in economic.
Oh no! It crippled the growth that was happening in North America.
Yeah.
As soon as they cut
ever was ending the Apollo program. It was the worst fiscal decision America has made.
Well, because they didn't replace it with the Orion program, which was like basically nuclear rockets and like half the speed of light travel and all that stuff. It was
and you know what? You know what's tragic? That the best rocket that's ever made, just to go on a completely different tangent, to something equally depressing but still more uplifting, isn't social in any way, is that the Saturn V is still the greatest rocket feat of engineering. And there's nothing like it still, 60 years later, and we can't build something like the Saturn V. And we can't go to the moon. We have to reinvent going to the moon. How freaking sad is that?
Yeah, just because of all the cutting of the funds at NASA and a lot of the weird way they're trying to organize their information. All the details of the blueprints for the Saturn V are misplaced, according to those that have that responsibility at NASA, which means that they have to literally reorganize everything and have someone look at all their tapes, all their paper files, all their digital files to see if they can find that stuff. It'll take years.
That's the worst of all. You can't make the Saturn V today. You can't do a replica of it. You'd have to basically reinvent everything because that technology doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's been replaced with inferior product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you'd have to have a brand new engineering company that would make the needed parts in order for that to happen. Like North American, the old company that did have contracts with the Apollo program, that doesn't exist in the same way anymore. And the other part too, the whole concept that actually hurt the space program and also hurts a lot of economies is the whole issuing contracts to the lowest bidder aspect, because you're cutting corners on a lot of things that are supposed to last in, and also supposed to have the responsibility of safety of the people that are using those stuff, that technology, those rockets, those engineering feats. When you I mean, you don't want to make something unnecessarily expensive, of course, but you want to make sure that if you're investing in something like a rocket or like a shuttle program, you're getting more than a couple of decades out of it. You're getting something that could be upgraded easily, that can go for long journey, like sometimes in some cases with some of the carrier ships that were built 50 years ago that are still in service.
Well, you know what it is too. I mean, what happened in the 70s? We went from the shuttle program. We went from the Apollo program to the shuttle program.
What a fucking waste was that?
How useless was that? Yeah, the space shuttle was all fine and good, all fine and dandy. It was good, but it had nowhere to go. I mean, it
was all for satellites. That's how it was.
Yeah, I mean that was
astronauts into mechanics.
Yeah. And everything else. That's where
it was the wrong focus. Shouldn't have made it. They should have gone straight for Orion, as you said, Script.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you knew that. I thought I was the only one at this panel with that was so inclined.
Oh no! Like my high school teacher got me into because I was already into Star Trek and he was as well. He got me into all the space program and stuff, and he was the first one to say we can't go to the moon because we don't build rockets like that anymore. And it wasn't until I think after I graduated high school where I found out that we can't, because there's no companies that make those types of parts, and then that NASA doesn't really know if they have all the records of how to do that anymore.
Yeah. I was about to ask you that. I mean, there's no blueprints on file. I mean,
there are, but they're just not.
We can't make it. That's the thing. We can't make the parts.
Yeah, that, and then there a lot of the stuff that they figured out years ago. This is another thing I heard. The programs and all the shit they used back in the day was on such old technology that the newer stuff can't read it. So they've been trying to figure out how to retroactively get all the old info that they've lost over the last.
Yeah, they need to find. They actually have to go to high schools. If they go to Midwestern high schools that have computers from the late 80s that have magnetic tape readers, they could probably do something with
and
that.
I'm thinking some of it's even older than that, to the point where a lot of this stuff is so obsolete, they can't even find anything. I've heard it was that bad.
And you know what the tragedy is that with SpaceX
degraded to the point where
making stuff, and they've done amazing things, but the first 10 years, you know what they did? They basically had to reinvent what Werner von Braun and his team did in the 50s and 60s already. All of the stuff that they had to reinvent had already been done and perfected in the 60s. And they had to start over and use a decade just to get to basically the same point. The only new thing is that now they can land the reusable parts. That's the new thing. But the rest, they spent a decade reinventing the wheel, basically.
Yep.
How tragic is that? And rocket science.
It's not just a failure on our records, it's a failure on our education system as well, to the point where you have to spend 10 years.
Yeah, I got to get to these super chats though. Casperius says with $5, Mad Mardigan, dag nabbit, I knew I should have bought some overpriced tea so that I could dump it. Can't stand tea anyway. And that's response to Mad Mardigan's super chat. Thank you so much, Casperius. Ricky Critic, how you doing, Jeff? Sends in $2, says, hello, all my Karens. Well, hello to you, Rookie Critic. Check out Rookie Critic's channel. He's definitely somebody worth checking out.
Yeah, and Rookie, I'll be talking with you as soon as we're done here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a few people I've said about, we're gonna be finishing up here. Now I'm gotten to the point where I should have just brought him on, but no, I know it's probably getting late for Andre. Let me see where we're at with super chats here. I think there's one more we got left, but it's gone on my thing. I didn't catch it in time, I don't think. I have to go to my other thing. Oh, there it is. Thanatos Felicidius, however I'm saying that. The middle class turns raw material into wealth. Look at what happened to Portugal's gold ships. Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Very true indeed. So yeah, sorry I didn't get to that earlier when it was probably more poignant or pertinent to the conversation, but you know, when we get rolling, it's tough to kind of break away, and I apologize for that, guys. I really do. But yeah, it's been a great day. You guys have been hanging in there. I can't believe how many are out there watching us right now. I appreciate it so much. If you can hit that like button, that would really help us out. As I was saying, I'm sure it's getting kind of late for Andre, so we should probably wrap things up here anyway. What do you guys think?
Works for me.
Yeah.
How dare you?
And Andre, one day we're gonna have to like geek over rockets.
Oh hell yeah!
Rocket Man.
Because the Orion engine design is like a proto impulse engine design. It's amazing. Yeah.
I love spaceships.
It's such a tragedy.
Are sitting here talking about all this technical shit, and this is all I hear.
PC load letter? What the fuck does that mean?
That's Tom in technology.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, basically, in short, what it means is that the rockets that we should have developed in the 70s and the 80s are still 2 decades away. That's what it means.
All right, and I'm getting a call for Fenton.
So we're 50 years behind schedule.
Yeah, that I know. But I mean, like all the techie stuff, I'm just like, eh? And I'm not real good with the computer as it is. Where's my Fenton? Oh, there he is.
Jesus Christ! Fenton! Oh, Jesus Christ! Fenton!
So what do you think? What are we hearing today, Rob? You weren't here for most of the show.
Yeah, I think we earn a maximum effort puppy.
Oh yeah.
Not a lazy puppy?
No.
Medium effort minimum.
Well, then that's minimum. But
Willie Woodwood had a great comment. Hey, at Script Doctor, you and Andre, don't do that on your own time. Like, we can't get Tom demonetized. Yeah, you're right. We could probably do that on After Dark. That would be cool. See who else who else is down with rocketry and stuff.
Yeah.
Burnett maybe. But
I don't care. I don't care. Either way, yeah. A lot of Fentons out there. All right, I'll give us a maximum effort puppy. Why not? We earned it. We earned him.
Look at him go. He's loving it.
That's Journey. That's a girl dog.
Is that Journey?
Yeah.
Oh, you figured that out?
Yeah, it's not Tucker, but it's one of the others in his family.
I don't think it really matters.
Girlfriend.
Like Zaxi says, F you water dogs. That's right. Get him.
All right, everyone.
All right, give me some music, Rob. Yes. Thank you very much for hanging out with us here on this 4th of July.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.